We're coming to you today from Melbourne, Australia, and we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we are recording, the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening to the recording today.
Before we get into today's show, a quick word about the Olfactive Melbourne Perfumery.
Brands featured on this show are available as a 4ml sample in our Experience Pack. Pick 3 fragrances and we'll send them to you with a QR code that links straight back to here.
So you can sniff along with the episode. It's the first interactive perfume podcast experience.
And the best way to discover Australian fragrance from anywhere in Australia. Fall in love with something? Your pack includes an exclusive discount on the full bottle.
Visit olfactiveperfumery.com and build your pack today.
Now, let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Olfactive Melbourne. I'm your co-host Trent Stokes.
And I'm Robin Stokes. Today we have with us in the studio Yusef Al Kilani from Kilani Essence. Welcome to the show, Yusef.
Hey guys, I'm absolutely vivacious to be on the show. I'm so ecstatic. Hi guys, how are you doing?
We're really well and we're really excited to have you on the show. We've been looking forward to this for some time.
Let's cook, man. I'm honored.
Awesome. Let's get cracking and let's start. If you could tell us a little bit about Kilani Essences, where are you based?
Okay, so we're based in Warrawong Plaza. It's this very beautiful small mall in a very low economic area. But beautifully, I've created a hidden gem where Kilani Essence, to me, is a niche perfumery house that focuses on personal perfumery and a very concentrated structure on how we approach and create fragrances.
So tell me, what do you mean by personal perfumery?
Personal perfumery. If I were to be like, what is Kilani Essence? It would be very hard to pinpoint. Because for me, every single person, every client that I have, I create the structure of the fragrance based on them, their tastes, their approach, and the 3 virtues of my business, which is transparency of the materials, exactly what is going on your skin, and being able to have that level of intimacy and control with the material, which is the second virtue. Having control, being able to blend the vanilla, more citruses, and having that approach where it's designed for your subjective nose. And third and most importantly, you get a professional opinion rather than just batch by batch moving and focusing on the mass production things, you know?
Fantastic. So no mass production for you. It's all quite personalized.
It's all quite personalized, quite intimate. Every single bottle before it gets sold, I have a very in-depth conversation with the person who's buying the fragrance and to fully understand them and to see if they're a fit for our fragrances too.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And just for our listeners who may not have caught it, your store is in Sydney.
It's actually based in the Illawarra, which is like an hour from Sydney. It's a little place called Wollongong, and we're a suburb right next to it called Warrawong. And even closer to it is Port Kembla, which is this beautiful beachy area, really small artisanal like town, and it's the most stunning place where I get to find a little bit of peace for myself. Really nice.
It sounds it.
But the perfumery is inside of a mall, and I treat it as like a 9 to 5. I go in there, I do the absolute best that I can. I focus on the 3 connections that I have with the business, which is community, compassion, and kindness. And most importantly as well, I get to support the people who support me, having that physical experience where you get to enjoy the fragrance itself. And again, I have over 1,000 materials at Kilani Essence, all easy access, and everybody gets to smell it and experience it too. So having that depth with the materials and having that structure of a store inside of a mall it's awesome.
Fantastic. So obviously the brand does contain your last name, but I think there's probably a little bit more behind it. You've got a special word in there being Essence. Can you just explain the name or the naming convention for us?
So my name is actually Yusef Al Kilani, and Kilani is something that means a lot to me. It's my family, it's my ancestors, and it's who I am beyond the physical realm. And for me, I wanted to honor my ancestors. So Kilani Kilian is a place in between Iraq and Iran. I belong to a very small ethno-religious group called the Mandayans. And for me, I'm very, very willful about being able to honor them the best that I can because I grew up in a westernized world. For me, I consider myself Australian. I wear a kangaroo leather hat. And for me, I always want to retain a touch of what I've experienced in my life and where I come from. And essence being the essence of the fragrance, the materials, and the structure of perfumery itself. Merging traditional Arabic classic perfumery with modern French techniques, that is the essence of perfumery. So it just came together.
The name makes sense. And I've got to say, that hat is so cool.
Thank you so much.
I want a leather kangaroo hat as well. So
something that's really cool, actually, while I've been in Melbourne and adventuring, so many people wear leather. Oh my God, like where I'm from, no one wears leather. I'm the only person with a cowboy hat and a leather jacket. I'm like, what's going on, bro?
It's working for you. It's working for you. Fantastic. And sorry, when was the brand established?
The brand established June 2023, very shortly after COVID. I had my experience in Dubai with perfumers, 50 years in the industry. My auntie's a perfumer. And for me, having that level of experience and intimacy with perfumers who've been doing this their whole lives, understanding mass production, understanding artisanal perfumers, and also getting to understand where these materials come from, specifically Yemen, Oman, Indonesia, India, having these very cool experiences with the cultures themselves and how these materials came to be traded throughout the years. For me, it's also about honoring that as well. Having those mentors really taught me something, and especially my auntie as well. For her, she never got any of the credit. She worked her ass off just for the pleasure of being a part of the world. And for me, she made me promise her that I would be the exact opposite of that, that I will put my name out there and that I'll make our family proud. And that's exactly what I'm here doing, baby.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So it is Middle Eastern perfumery based in Australia. So it's got some Australiana infused into it.
Some bohemian vibes.
Beautiful. You're honoring your family name, your family history from that region of the world. And all of that comes together in this highly personalized brand that is not mass produced and certainly sits well within that niche bucket.
Amen.
Fantastic. We're going to unpack a lot more of this as we go into the show.
Amazing to talk about.
There is heaps to talk about. And yeah, we've got quite a lot of fragrances and we're only going to be touching on just a tiny bit of what you do today. So we'll try and do Kilani Essence as much justice as we can do today. But of course, this is only the very first visit of many in the future. Fantastic. So, as you know, the show is wrapped around a masterclass. So we take one fragrance that best represents your brand and it unfolds in real time. Which particular fragrance did you select and why did you select that fragrance for today's masterclass?
It would definitely have to be the fan favorite Electric Fumo. The prized possession of men's fragrances in the Australian indie industry right now. I would love to show you guys.
Fantastic. All right. So Yusef's going to grab the fragrance and spray it out for us. We're going to pop it onto some blotters, but we're also going to spray it onto our skin.
Beautiful.
Now, there is an important reason why we spray it onto our skin and not just onto blotters, and that's because we all experience fragrance quite individually, don't we?
That is correct.
So there's a number of factors that can influence the smell of a fragrance. So that can be our own, our skin microbiome. It can be the temperature of our skin. There can be the oils that surface in our skin. There can be a whole range of factors, which means that it can smell quite different on my skin than it does on Robin's or it does on Yousef's. So the spraying onto the blotters, though, provides us with a really consistent experience. It's the same on the blotters. So we'll get to experience both. Now, while Yousef is spraying that out, what I'd like to explain to you is what we're about to smell, which are opening notes. So on your screen right now, you'll have a perfume pyramid. At the very top of that pyramid, we have our opening notes. So what we're going to be smelling as we spray it out are the perfume or fragrance molecules that will surface in the fragrance first, but will also dissipate the fastest. And I might just reach my hand across here to get Yousef to spray onto my hand here as well. Thank you, good sir.
No worries.
Fantastic. So The fragrance molecules that we're about to smell will surface in the fragrance first, but also dissipate the fastest. It's an introduction to the fragrance, hence why they're called opening notes. Once those opening notes start to dissipate, they'll start to make way for the heart notes and the base notes that will unfold a little bit later in the fragrance. Now, Yusef, I do explain the perfume pyramid in quite a linear manner, but that's not quite how it always unfolds. So
Correct.
we may start to get some of those heart notes punching through straight from the first smell. Sometimes we don't. Really just depends on how the perfume is constructed. This episode of Olfactive Melbourne is proudly brought to you by T&T Group. For Australian fragrance founders, the standard 10,000 piece packaging minimum has long been a wall between the design you envisioned and the design you could actually launch with. T&T Group designs and manufactures luxury packaging for the world's leading fragrance houses. And until the end of Season 2, Olfactive Melbourne listeners can access T&T directly, with the 10,000 piece minimum waived and 10% off unit pricing. Premium packaging at the scale Australian indie brands actually launch at. Visit tnt-group.com and mention Olfactive Melbourne when you reach out. Fantastic. So with all of that explained, let's have a smell and then you can take us through our opening notes.
All right, so the opening notes, it really and genuinely starts off with the most bright burst of fresh ginger. And for me, when I'm creating, especially approach towards Electric Fumo, I really wanted to create a metallic, intense citrus that is clean and breathable, almost photorealistic. To me, this is what I would imagine lightning smelling like. It's this electric, zingy feeling, you know? It sizzles.
Absolutely.
It does,
I
yeah.
did notice when I looked at the description on the website of this particular fragrance that in brackets you've got spark.
Yes, spark. Yes,
Spark. So
Yes.
that's what we're getting here is that bit of electric spark.
that's correct. And then it definitely turns. It goes into this aromatic format with the juniper berry. The ginger and grapefruit is a combination used many times with different perfumers and accords, especially from the houses of Louis Vuitton and certain houses like Emporio Armani. That accord at the top is a very well-known, high-quality, classy citrus. With the juniper berry, I gave it more of a mature indie twist. Having that aromatic dryness, almost gin-like quality, brings us into a mature format rather than being a youthful, fruity citrus or a fragrance that just sits on your skin with the citrus smelling a little bit chemically. This is the exact opposite. It
I
has this
agree.
woody nuance. There's structure. It's almost like you smell real grapefruit. But once again, me creating Electric Fumo, the whole identity of Electric Fumo is lightning hitting a seashell and me trying to capture nature at its most violent and beautiful. Especially being from the area that I'm from, Port Kembla specifically, we get these amazing storms. And I love to spend time on the beach, on the rocks with my brother, living it, just loving the lightning hitting the clouds. So for me to put this together, it's lightning hitting the seashell. And that's where we get to the mid now. The mid has this awesome, beautiful structure. I love it. It's a combination of a lovely heart. I just get stunned smelling it. It takes me somewhere.
Absolutely. And we did say, as we were explaining our notes, that our heart notes will start to sort of present themselves even in the opening. We're going to do a bit of a deep dive on those heart notes when we get to the heart notes section. But I've got to say that when you say the word sort of photorealistic,
Yes.
100%, right? That what I'm smelling smells like ginger. It smells like grapefruit. It's nice and fresh. And while I can pick each one of the individual notes that you've just read out to me, they're also extremely well blended. So I get all of them all at once while still being able to pick out each one of the notes.
For me, when especially creating fragrances, like I genuinely collecting fragrances, I don't really like the linear perfumes. It usually starts off the same and ends the same with a very similar structure of citrus, heartfelt florals, and then bassy musk or woods. For me, I love to create dynamic perfumes, things that shift and change and evolve, but you also get the level of clarity with each material. A lot of times I smell perfumes and the perfume will have an ingredient basis, like dates or something, and it smells nothing of dates. And that breaks my heart. So a lot of times, anytime I create a fragrance and highlight the materials, you should be able to smell each material and should have its own individual nature inside the perfume.
I love that because you're very right. I get this a lot where I'm going, it's a bit of a stretch to say that I can smell that particular material in there. But yeah, absolutely. Each one of the notes that you just went through, I can see it in my mind. I can smell it, but it doesn't mean that it's not beautifully blended together and they all support each other and play their parts. Really lovely. I'm not surprised that this is really popular, by the way. This is beautiful and fresh while not airing into that immature sort of fragrance. It's got that maturity about it as well.
It's quite atmospheric.
It is.
So that was the first thing that I noticed was once you sprayed it out, it's got that billowiness in the air.
It takes you somewhere.
And that's energy. Like I think the way you've described the lightning, I could say that that's the energy of the fragrance.
It's the resonance of the lightning.
Resonating out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I am definitely loving this on my skin. I love it on the blotter, but wow, on the skin, it is something else.
It's warmer.
It's warmer. You use the word atmospheric. It's more atmospheric coming off my skin than off the blotter.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're noticing
Well,
that
because
as well.
I sniffed my skin first, and then after that, I felt like I could hardly smell the blotter compared to the skin.
Yeah, because it really punches off the skin, doesn't it? Yeah, it's got some heft behind
It's
it.
got some heft, and it's got some of that true aromatic quality. I notice a lot of times the brands will cut corners with certain musks and certain cheap materials like dihydromercenol, or just the worst of them all is galaxolide. For me, like when I blend the fragrances, I'm using a minuscule amount of these French modern mass production materials, enough to give you nostalgia, but also blended with the high quality naturals to give you a sensation that's something that's down to earth. Something that you know that you've smelt before, that's familiar to you in a way that it represents life itself. I think being a perfumer, our first job is being able to express ourselves and express life. I have a saying, and everything in life is an imitation of something. And beautifully enough, that's what perfumery is.
100% it is.
Yeah.
And you really just can't have a conversation about perfume without talking about memory, about story, about place. And I think, we've sort of called it out without really even asking you about the story necessarily, or where we are in the story. But I can clearly see myself at the beach. I can see the lightning. I can feel the ocean mist. I can feel that striking of the electricity or the lightning hitting that seashell. It's unfolding in my mind, so I sort of know where we are. But is that sort of where we're at in the story?
That is exactly where we're at right now. And for me as well, I'm a very spiritual person. And like, I close my eyes when I'm smelling this perfume, and it almost smells like there was a church right on top of the hill, and the church was burning incense, and that smoke got captured by the rocks, swung through a wave, and made itself to you, capturing the saltiness, the sweetness, the richness of the ocean, the authentic smell of what I'd assume an aquatic marine fragrance smelling like.
Oh, so gorgeous. So I've got to say the heft behind this fragrance, that's a real hallmark of Middle Eastern perfumery, isn't it?
That is correct.
If you want a fragrance that is going to have some punch and it's going to last, look to the Middle Eastern perfumery, because they certainly know how to formulate some pretty strong fragrances.
Most importantly as well, it's all about how we structure perfume in the Middle East. Over here on the West, it's a very mass production, one size fits all, everybody smelling the same, pass it on to the trend. Where in the Middle East, similar structure with the trend, but everybody gets their own personal approach. There's so many perfumeries, every 200 meters, you'll get a perfumer. So for me, over there in the Middle East, the way we structure fragrance is really unique. Here on the West, you have a combination of synthetics, and then as soon as they add the naturals, that's when they charge you an arm and a leg. Yes. Ouch. I want to be able to access the natural materials and the high quality smells because I know what they are. And beautifully enough, anytime someone comes to my perfumery, especially at our physical store in Warong Plaza, they get to experience those exact materials, the vanilla absolute, the frankincense, and the multiple different versions of it, as well as the awesome mass citruses that we almost aren't allowed to use, extremely restricted. And now I understand restriction and I respect it endlessly. I love safety and having the person-to-person connection to identify exactly what it is you're sensitive to, rather than being, okay, one size fits all, now I can't wear perfume because I'm sensitive to it.
Yeah, and you're very right there because while IFRA will put certain restrictions around certain materials and certain concentrations, that doesn't protect you from having a reaction.
Exactly.
And you should still test. And certainly, you've had reactions to things in the past. I certainly have as well. And you're sort of wondering what that is. I thought that was an IFRA, compliant fragrance. It's got nothing to do with that. It's what is
Just
my
how your skin
my skin is sensitive to.
Yeah.
So I love that consultation process that you go through and that
And my mum,
personalised.
and it actually all stems from my mum. I absolutely love my mum. She's my superhero. A single woman got 4 boys out of a war by herself. I give her the utmost amount of respect, and I take my hat off to you, Mama. You did an amazing job. Most importantly, she's very sensitive to perfume. I grew up always surrounded by incense, so my mom loved making incense with my auntie, who's a perfumer. And lovely enough, incense and the natural materials, the ouds, the resins, the myrrh, having that intimacy with those materials growing up, I realized that my mom loves them too. And then she tried a lot of the French fragrances like let's just not mention brands right now. But she had a reaction to it. And ever since then, I've been making that fragrance for her without those certain materials that she's sensitive to, which is benzyl acetate. She's very sensitive to dihydromercenol, and so am I. So it's a genetic thing as well.
Yep.
So having that level of intimacy with understanding what is benzyl acetate, it's a jasmine material, and it's used widely to give jasmine a fruity, ethereal nuance. So for me, instead of using benzyl acetate, I'll be looking elsewhere at different molecule structures, looking at the natural GCMS machine identification processes of different jasmines, like jasmine sandbag, jasmine India, and having that chemistry background to be able to recreate a note from the ground up. Beautifully enough, we can get synthetics that are isolated naturally. So some brands across the planet will use those naturally derived synthetics, and they could highlight their perfume as a natural perfume, even though it's used isolated synthetics. So it's cool though.
Absolutely, and there's a fair bit of maybe controversy or maybe it's misinformation about naturals.
That's
and when you go into it, are you using whole botanicals versus isolates versus synthetics? And if you're using isolates, well, you are still in the lab and you are still pulling things apart as opposed to using the whole botanical. But obviously, when you use the whole botanical, there can be inconsistencies, and people don't like inconsistencies. So, well, certainly big brands don't like inconsistencies.
Of course.
So, Yusef, normally when we get to this section of the show, I will ask you a question like, take us back to when you first were inspired about perfume. But I'd like to go back a little bit further, if that's okay with you, because you just mentioned something, which was that your mum managed to, smuggle 4 boys out of a war zone. And I think,
Yes.
surely that paints the picture of your background, your personality. It's infused within you as a person, and it must make its way into your perfume. So,
It does.
do you mind if we go back a little bit further and you can start with, how you actually got to Australia in the first place?
I would absolutely love to.
Great.
It really and genuinely starts off when before I was even born. From the 1990s, my mum was running around and trying to put some money together to get the boys, my brothers, out of the Middle East. My brothers are all 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years older than myself. So beautifully enough, I am the youngest of my family. And yeah, it was a lot of running around for her until early 2002. And then she got pregnant with me. And then September 1st, I was born. And I was born in Yemen. And the day after I was born, the hospital I was born in got demolished.
Wow.
So imagine this. You just gave birth to your son, C-section, and then you have to get the hell out of that hospital that day.
Wow.
So you just gave birth, and you're also running out of that hospital on the same point. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I hear this a lot from my mom, but I was the most difficult pregnancy for her. And again, I just give her the utmost amount of love and respect because I was born and she continued to cook. I was born in a small place in Yemen called Sena. It's right near the beach. I live near the beach now, so beautiful things come right back around. And it really starts off with my first experience with war. I would love to mention my friend Ali, rest in peace, my very first friend. And a little game we used to play as a kids would be walking over to the neighborhoods and looking at the destruction and digging through the destruction for our friends. That was a
Oh my
game
gosh.
to me as a kid, because a child's mind can't comprehend what is going on. I'd be looking at soldiers like superheroes, like, wow, look at this dude walking by with all these guns and stuff, and it's very beautiful, and like I was like shocked, and then you'd see the death and destruction, and it takes your innocence,
Of course.
but beautiful enough. That's what gave me my perseverance. I'd love to talk to you guys about the second experience of coming out of the Middle East, and it's coming out of Iraq. So this would be 2002, late December. So she went from Yemen to Iraq, where even more war is going on. And we got an opportunity to come to Australia. And finally, all of her hard work, all the days of her running around different offices, different like embassies, different countries. And remember, we are absolutely poor at this point. And my brothers are old enough to be working at factories, so they're doing factory work. And we made it to Jordan. And from Iraq to Jordan was one hell of a trip. I'll tell you guys that much. On the bus there, the bus was attacked by rebels, and they tipped the bus. So calm, I'm chilling, looking at my mom, and then boom, bus crashed, glass everywhere. And beautifully enough, this is my earliest memories of my mom jumping out of her seat, and instead of protecting me and my brothers, jumps in front of the woman who's pregnant and protects her instead. And the intensity of the situation, basically, this woman's giving labor now, and she's just screaming at us to come help her. And she helps this woman give birth while these people are robbing us of our birth certificates, of our gold, of every little dollar that we had, of any information of us getting able to get out of there. Luckily, my mom is an amazing human being who works with the embassies to retain our information everywhere, so we'll be able to get it back and continue to make our way to Australia. But basically, woman gives birth, blood everywhere, manic. And then we get out of the bus, and then we just start walking. We're walking to Jordan. It's like,
Incredible.
the bus is just chilling there. The bus driver's crying his eyes out. Like destruction at its finest. And we're in the middle of nowhere. And my mom grabs all of us, hand by hand. We're walking. And I'm looking at my brothers like, I can't believe like this is happening. It's beyond any child's mental capacity. Now, a lot of people in my position at that time, they would turn to hatred, but I never did. I never hated anyone. I never caused negativity. My mom never allowed us to have or anchor or seed that in the first place. So growing up, I was in consistent shock of how dehumanizing it is. But walking that and having those thoughts as a kid was literally God's plan. Because as soon as we made it around halfway, I think, there's a church, a small church, just chilling by itself in the middle of nowhere between Iraq and Jordan. And there's a priest just chilling outside, just waiting on the chair, smiling, waiting. And oh my God, this is why I'll never forget it. It's the relief on my mom's face. She looked at us with relief. She looked at that woman carrying that baby with the umbilical cord still connected, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
She walked like miles and miles
Oh my goodness.
with with an umbilical cord connected. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is a stunning exposition of humanity and the strength that people go through over there. And look, I'm a very well presented person, and I've been able to articulate this because I've dealt with it. I've dealt with the PTSD, I've dealt with the pain, I've dealt with the trauma so deeply that I'm allowed to talk about it without breaking down in tears right now. Yeah. And most beautifully about it is, that's when I got my first experience with God and having a very, very awesome conversation with a priest. And he has a very interesting perspective. He looked to the right where we just came from, and he goes, would you live a selfish or a selfless life? If you want to live a selfish life, you live how they do. If you want to live a selfless life, you live how we do. And I asked him, what do you mean? And he goes, well, if you're willing to be the sacrifice, you're willing to go through it all for a greater purpose. And that never it's like an earring in my ear. I never forgot it. So growing up and finally having the opportunity to come to Australia, as soon as we got to that church, they had people come and take us to Jordan, and I was so happy to finally get out. And I was counting the days on my hands. I was looking at my mom and I'm like, 10 days? 10 days?
Wow.
And unfortunately, in those last 5 days is when the most intense trauma began. So from Jordan, they didn't allow Iraqi citizens to work or live or even get refuge in Jordan at that time. So we were sent right back.
Oh,
And now I'm back on a bus again.
oh wow.
And that was so traumatizing.
Yeah.
As soon as we got on that bus, they took us back to Iraq, and they dropped another lather of bombs in the place that we were staying at. My mom was at work, my brothers were trying to find work, and I was the only one at home. Luckily, I was in the basement playing with some toys. I don't know, I personally don't even remember. I know I was in the basement playing, and they demolished that whole building, and I was stuck in there. And then I can't imagine what my mom felt like. She lost a kid and she has to look for
Oh
him.
my goodness.
It's the most difficult thing. And I was just in a room crying, screaming my eyes out. They told me that I was in there for more than 48 hours.
Wow.
I personally don't remember much of that experience besides being in a black, dark room, scratching at the walls until my nails bled.
So
That's-
traumatizing. Yeah.
But that's the extreme. Now let's talk about first day in Australia.
Beautiful.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, it's good for us to get to know. And I just want to say, just before you go into it, is thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that,
Very
because I know that you have dealt with it and you've processed it, and you are in a stronger place to deal with it. But that's a very traumatizing story to take us through, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think it's
for
important.
sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important for our listeners and our viewers to understand this about you, because you can't separate yourself from your perfumes. Everything, and we know that you're an extremely spiritual person, a very positive person,
Thank you.
and you will infuse all of this into your
the fragrances.
perfume and the expression of your art. So it is important that we get the color of that. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing that with us. So
I'm absolutely honored. And look, I believe that I'm in a position where in the next couple of years, we're going to have another generation of kids coming and seeking refuge. And look, for me personally, I've taken my pain and I've turned it into perseverance, compassion, and kindness, the three virtues that I live by. These things are the things that I wish there was more of. I believe that the world at the moment is lacking care. If every single person cared just that little bit more like I do, I feel like we'd have a better place to live in and to experience this. And inevitably, we do have a beautiful piece of heaven in Australia. And I know this, and I'm so aware of this. And that's why I endlessly pour my heart and soul out for people in the same position as me who just came and believe that they might not make it. You will make it. Believe in yourself. And, taking that level of perseverance and turning it into care. There's so many people I've met, and my story humbles them and gives them hope, gives them strength.
Yeah.
It's a story of perseverance, and it allows you, your day-to-day life, and not having experienced such extremes, to maybe think and go, maybe I am grateful for what I have and what I've grown up with. And I am extremely, every single person I meet, I thank them from the depths of my soul, and I appreciate them, and I show them the respect and due diligence that every single person deserves.
well, I can certainly see why you admire your mother so much, and how it's all of this experience has worked its way into you and your the expression of your art form. And yeah, as I said, thank you so much for sharing it. I think absolutely we want to head into the direction of how we went from that traumatizing experience to, you've landed in Australia. How did we get from getting to Australia to falling in love with fragrance. I mean, this is probably a fair bit of
I love it.
journey.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's
But
definitely
let
a
me
journey.
throw you that challenge, and let's see whether we can work our way through to where the inspiration started.
Lovely. So it actually begins with how I dealt with trauma. Now, growing up, I didn't fully comprehend what happened to me until I was around 12, 13 years old, when it really like started to settle in. Okay, I actually experienced 1, 2, 3. It's not a part of this massive nightmare that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And for me, it left me with scars. And the scars are neurodivergence, PTSD burns to my brain, which causes your neurobiology to grow in a unique way. So I have just a very unique brain. Growing up, I had hyperbolia, so basically I'm very, very sensitive to scent. I have a very, very heightened sense of smell. I can walk in a room and I can identify every smell there. And growing up with that was, oh my God. Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
can
Other
imagine.
kids was not a fun experience for me.
I can imagine.
I mean, like, I'll give you a day in the life real quick of me at school. The bell would ring and I'd have PTSD from the bell because bells ringing over there means
Yeah.
stuff
okay.
dropping. And the teacher would have a tissue box just at my table because I'd just have panic attacks randomly and just start crying. But that's childhood, right? Growing up, 13, 14, puberty hit, the hormones cracked in, and I started to study life, my body, my brain, physiology, psychology, esoteric nature of the world. And that took me to a very awesome place. Now, my mum and my family, they've always fueled me. Being the youngest in the family, I was the the star boy. And
The baby always
the
is.
baby is, right? And I don't take that lightly. Like, all right, bet you want me to be the star? I'll be the star, baby. Let's cook. And for me, like, I love the fact of being able to describe the human body. And look, growing up, I had the traumas and the scars it left me with, but it also left my mum with scars. It left my family with scars. And my mum got really sick and she got really hurt. And I just wanted to help. I think every child goes through this where they have an opportunity to take it upon themselves to look into whatever it is that's happening into their lives if their parent gets sick or if they get hurt. My mum being my superhero, I couldn't have that. So I made it my sole mission to understand exactly what it is that's wrong with my family and how I can fix that. And it was a lot of psychology. I was understanding physiology. My mom's physical things were an extreme hiccup growing up because I wouldn't be able to focus on school because I'm too busy focusing on how to doctor my mom. And that was my drive. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to get into fitness. And my background really traditionally came from mixed martial arts. I chose mixed martial arts to be that entry point. And I loved it. And from that point on, fitness took over my life. Now, having the neurodivergence, it gives me synesthesia. Now, synesthesia is basically I can see colors, shapes, from different noises, different smells, and it has to be quite intense. So imagine a kid in the middle of a hall with all the other kids screaming. Inside my mind would be an extreme, it would be very manic inside my head. There'd be a lot of visuals, would be very intense alongside my thoughts. So growing up, I never fully realized what I had until the last moments where it's just like, okay, I'm living with this, and then I have to be able to use this in a positive impact. Otherwise, it's gonna break me. So it hit me as soon as I hit 15. I was just like, okay, I'm obsessive. I love this, I love that. And then getting into the psychology of it all, and then getting diagnosed, and then having my family support me through that. And then getting my family the diagnosis and getting them the help they needed. And just being the dude who just like healed my family. And then the spiritual approach. I approached the spiritual approach. And the spiritual approach really came from when the diagnosis and the healing began, and I was really feeling proud. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor. I'm gonna do this. My mum broke her back, and that was the last straw for me. I was like, all right, now I have to be. So my mum did physiotherapy for 2 years. And every day she would go to the physiotherapist and work through that. I would be there with a notebook, writing down, asking. I'd be pissing off the physiotherapist. He'd be like, just let me work. No, tell me, I want to do this at home. Like, let me fix this. Like, let me do this. And he was, most of the time, he was very happy to enlighten me and give me the information. And usually look, the doctor told me that she would never walk again. And she was on a wheelchair for around a year, up to 2 years. And that broke me. It went from my mum being my superhero, the person that I'll run into the grass field with, to my hurt mum, who I have to push around. And I did not want that for her. And she did not want that for herself. So she has the strength as I do. And I looked into it. I was like, okay, there's nerve damage there. Let's fix the nerves. So I looked into electrotherapy. And then we started doing electrotherapy on my mum. And then I was looking into training. This dude who literally was a paraplegic from the neck down started to walk again, just by electrocuting himself so virtually that it reconnected the neurobiological connections. Now, my mum still lives in a lot of extreme pain, but she can walk, she can run, she can jump. And we basically got there through years of physiotherapy, going to the pool and having those electric sessions, and basically reconnecting the nerves from that point on. And it's amazing. I am beyond proud of my mom and the will that she had to continue to push and push and push through the years to get out of a wheelchair and keep cooking. And like that kind of perseverance, that's pretty ingrained in Kilani Essence. Like, especially when I make a fragrance, I'll be drilling it. And it goes beyond obsession. I'm there stressing about it, and people get to physically see that too. Because again, it all happens at the shop and public eye. I'm always in the public. Everybody gets to see it, experience it, and it's a beautiful thing to see your pain in a way where it isn't something that breaks you or holds you down. It's an opportunity to grow and to evolve and to showcase some of God's greatest soldiers go through some of the hardest battles, like some of the most painful decrepits, and it's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you've taken all of these experiences through your life and just infused them into one, helping you give your mum a life. All right, because while it's not perfect, and nothing in the world is perfect, going from not being able to move to actually being able to live life, how beautiful. I actually didn't know that you had a mixed martial arts background, and you and I, once we come offline, you and I will have a chat, because I've spent 25 years doing mixed martial arts. I actually used to write for Blitz Martial Arts magazine for many, many years. It's a bit of my background, which a lot of people don't know, but we'll have a bit of a chat. So I love that you infuse all of this, and we're going to see this as it unfolds as we discuss Kilani. So at what point did you bring all of this passion and all of this knowledge and all of this inspiration into perfumery?
Okay, perfect. This takes us to around 5 years ago. And for me, 5 years ago, I was working in chefing, and I was cooking, and I was putting flavors together, and I've always been in love with being able to create. Creation for me is one of the most beautiful ways to express myself. Because I'm a very expressive person. I love to express the way that I look. I love to express the way that I feel. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And you can see the way that I feel on my face. And I'm authentic as hell. I'm not scared to speak my mind and be unfiltered, because I have that respect for myself and that love that I can pass on and ignite in others. Usually creating an environment where I'm encouraging and allowing the passion to be so raw and unfiltered and real that it's infectious. And that is something that I've always had with anything that I loved. And I was working in chefing, and then I got an opportunity to do event management and work as a laborer as well, building events and organizing events and being a part of the event world and music. And that's where my love for music came. Like, I love music, especially a good acoustic guitar or a very awesome riff. These things really ignite my heart. And especially my synesthesia. That was an opportunity for me using music taking and basically developing the synesthesia into a way where I get to use it in perfume. And it really started with music. I started pinpointing certain noises that give me different colors and different shapes. And I started creating a beautiful orchestra of different colors and shapes depending on different moods, different lists. And so I started making music, started to learn how to play guitar, started writing music and getting into into the music world, like I do into the perfumery world. And man, I got pretty far in. I met some of Australia's biggest artists and I had the time with them. And I spent a lot of time backstage and trying to understand what the music industry was all about, just to realize that it wasn't for me. And but the passion never left me. So I was basically just left soulless without my music. And I was like, what do I do? And now I've always been approaching life like I'll never work for someone. I hated working for someone. I hated being a slave to a corporate system that doesn't care about me. And every time I was there, I'd be doing above and beyond. I'd like, from the job as a dishie to working my way up into a chef, impressive. Everyone there's like, okay, he's got he's going, he's moving. And you know, anytime I had opportunity to understand business, I was always with the owners, talking about business, understanding the structure of businesses. And then my auntie came in and she was just like, you want to start your own business? I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to start one right now. I'm trying to start my own fashion brand. Because at that point in time, I had the three. I always work in threes, by the way. It's like my three virtues, and they were fitness, fashion, and fragrance. And it came together. I was like, okay, let's go. And my auntie was just like, I believe in you, and I'll give you the opportunity. She gave me a loan of $10,000, and she gave me a list of perfumers and people she worked with over the industry over the years. Took my ass to Dubai, and I got to experience it with all these amazing people, and I got to see the history of perfumery full cast, and I got to experience what true blending and basically building a structure of a perfume from natural materials from the base up, and then looking at the French style of perfumery where it's like you create a synthetic base and then you mix this and you create this mass production, these 1,000-liter productions, and I'm like, wow. And I was so engulfed by the world. And look, anything I choose to do and I get obsessed with, you better know I'll be taking it to the next level. So these perfumers who've spent their whole lives trying to find exactly what I'm doing chose to believe in me. And they got me to work for them as a part of their perfumery process. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get any certificates or anything. I just paid good money to have that level of experience and to have those conversations. So thus far, I'm a self-taught perfumer. And respectfully enough, that's the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
I absolutely love the fact that I'm on a consistent obsession and I'm always learning more about what makes the world. See, perfumery goes beyond just perfume. As I said before, we express the world. So most of the time what I'm doing is I'm studying single materials or like the chemistry of the scent of these materials, like what actually goes into making a rose smell like a rose, the combination of linalool, limonene, and citronellulol, the balance of damascanina that comes from the Damascus rose, right? So it's being able to go deeper and deeper and deeper and understand the layers. That also comes from the fitness side of things, where I looked at my nutrition and I was consistently counting calories, understanding that animals can run away, can bite you, but plants, they use poison. They use chemicals. And I had that understanding before perfume. So I was like looking into this, like, okay, natural materials have like a lot of complicated molecules, and I approached it scientifically. Once I got the science down pat, I got the basics there. Then I started just fueling my creativity. And that's where we get Kilani Essence from. It's that dream of basically bridging that gap between consumer and perfumer and allowing the consumer to control their fragrance and have the same experience I had of being able to be like, okay, yes, that's it. This is the way that things were truly made before. It was to curate to an individual. It was to represent you. Now, when you wear perfume, usually it's before going out. But when you get home and you take off your clothes, and what are you left with?
Yep. Still left with that scent, aren't
Left
you?
with that scent.
Yeah.
So it should be able to represent you in an extreme way. Now, another aspect of perfumery is marketing and programming. My least favorite things. For me, I allow you to program yourself. A lot of people are buying brand fragrances to be able to hold that structure of status. For me, I never looked at perfume as status. I always looked at it as an individual approach to expression. Now, having that said in mind, when you come buy a perfume from me, damn right, you're programming yourself. You get to understand exactly what goes into it, and you're pretty much I use you to help create it. You're a part of the creation process.
It's such a wonderful and unique way to approach perfumery, this really personalized approach. So I guess you've taken us through your full journey and your education. So you headed overseas, you got your education. You always had in your mind that you wanted to start your own brand. So this was inevitable from the time that you stepped offshore, started getting that education to coming back, you were going to be starting Kilani Essence. That kicked off about 3 years ago. Did you always have it in your mind that Kilani Essence was going to be one of those perfume houses that was going to be personalizing fragrances for people as well as sort of having this core range?
I always knew that I'll be personalizing and curating perfume. When Kilani Essence first started, it took a lot of confidence to be able to put anything out and to even be able to establish the brand properly as a perfumery. So for me, I got a lot of help from amazing people from the Middle East who work for artisan, Latafa, Kildaj, some of the biggest names in perfumery. These people are the backbone of where Kilani Essence comes from. Even though they're amazing dupe houses or they create amazing fragrances, they've been around since the 1990s and they've been curating fragrances since then. So for me, it really started off with curating collections rather than creating collections. The difference being is having that perfumer background and having that experience with perfume itself. Anyone who'd come to me to try to buy a perfume, they'd get a different level of authenticity, different level of understanding, of knowledge on the fragrance itself. So I took selling the Middle Eastern perfumes to the next level by basically creating a service. You come to me as a perfumer, I get to understand exactly what you like, educate you on what you like. For example, hey man, I like blue freshies, and I'll show you the different blue freshies, and then I'll show you the molecules that go into the blue freshies, the different grades of quality, and then you get to understand exactly what you like. But a lot of people from Warrawong expect chicken nugget prices for filet mignons. So unfortunately, I did start this business with affordable luxury.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's slowly grown and evolved. And you get to really see my artistic expression come out. I really started to believe in myself December 2023. And I got to thank Baz from the House of Turkmen, aka Scent Sample Studio. He's been one of my greatest friends and allies and peers in the perfume industry. He's one of the greatest people I know and honestly a rock in this industry. He's helped so many people get on their feet. Me and him always share knowledge. And having a long conversation with him, he told me, bro, you need to believe in yourself. You need to put your perfumes out there. And I'm telling you, that milestone point was, when Baz came up to me and was like, I saw him. He's a perfumer. He's getting stuff out there. He believes in himself. I can too. I can do this. And
I mean, it's fantastic to hear that, right? Isn't it great to hear about support within the industry?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, there's room for everybody in the industry. There is a lot of Australian houses, and they all should absolutely be working together. There's going to be a bit of this happening shortly, I guess, with the Geelong Fragrance Festival that's coming up later in the year, where we're 40 different brands are sort of coming together, again, to support the entire industry. That's what we're about as well, lifting the entire Australian industry. And I've got to say, Baz from the House of Turkmen, a little bit overdue to be on the show. We're going to be having you on soon enough for sure, because we hear this about Baz as well. Yeah. So absolutely brilliant. We can't wait to explore a little bit more. Now, usually we take about 15, 20 minutes to go through the opening dry down, but we've taken a bit of extra time today, because I think it's really important to get to know you and understand the brand and where it came from. That way, when we start exploring the broader range, we've got a little bit more context around why are we smelling what we're smelling and why is the brand the way the brand is. So But with all of that said, I think it's probably time for us to go back and start experiencing our heart note. So I'll hand over to you here, Robin.
Yep, sure. So just go back to the perfume pyramid for just a moment, and we just look at the heart notes. When we think of the heart notes, they do form the center of the perfume pyramid. And they do, as we know, appear once the top notes start to dissipate. And they normally are that smooth transition between the top notes and the deeper, denser base notes. So they are normally characterized by florals, aromatic herbs, or spices. And they do have that beautiful or the personality, the essence of the fragrance is where the heart lies. This edition of Olfactive Melbourne is proudly sponsored by Silver Australia. Silver Australia design and shape their jewellery in their studio in Melbourne, and they're pleased to offer Olfactive Melbourne customers 20% off when you use the code MASA20. So with that being said, please take us through the heart notes.
Beautiful. So with the heart notes, you got a combination of different frankincenses. And the frankincense is something that I'm extremely passionate about. I love doing extractions, distillations. I have my own hydro distillation at work, and I also have been focusing on the cleanest approach to doing chemical solvent extractions, especially when it comes to resins, cardamom, rose. And my obsession is ever evolving with the natural materials. But with frankincense, I have this intimacy with it. Being born in Yemen, especially from Senna, my mom and my family, especially my auntie, we've retained a lot of the connections that we got from over there. My mom living in North Africa, from Yemen and Libya for 2 to 3 years, really gave us that intimacy with the trees. So what is a frankincense tree? Frankincense is this Aswalia olibanum, which comes from Yemen, Oman, and Somalia. Specifically, this tree has to grow in some of the harshest climates in the world. And beautifully enough, the frankincense that I used in Electric Fumo is the royal grade green hujari combined with the golden hujari. So same expression of the tree, but different experience. So how do we get this resin? Well, specifically with the royal green hujari, it has to grow on the edge of a mountain, and it has to be going through the most extreme climate of desert heat, extreme rain, and the most epic winds. That gives us this translucent green, bluish, white nuance, made of monoterpenes, and it's very awesome terpenic smell. Gives it this rich, ethereal citrus smell, which is really backing the ginger and the citrus at the top. Usually citrus fades really quickly, but applying this sort of frankincense to the heart drags the longevity without overdosing any synthetics and without going too harsh on the edges.
Well, that is a raw material I would love to smell. Doesn't that sound wonderful?
It really does. And I've actually brought it here on the show to show you guys. So let's try it.
What a nice little segue into some raw materials. Now, as you're grabbing this, frankincense is one of those real hallmarks of Middle Eastern perfumery, isn't it?
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is something that has been, I guess, infused into the culture for thousands
of years.
Yeah.
Traditionally, the golden route and the silk route, things that, just to mention, that have been passed through. In ancient Greece, they used to consume 1,000 tons per month.
Wow.
In ancient Greece. So traditionally, it's actually used as medicine. There's two aspects to frankincense: the medicinal and then the aromatic, the perfumery, and then the true chemistry of how to heal yourself, the alchemical process. Now, this beautiful tree growing in the harshest climate, it has to twist into itself. And then we tap this tree, making it cry beautiful tears for us to enjoy as medicine and as aromatic qualities. The golden sacred tree is the most meaningful one of all. She literally bleeds for us. And I
Okay.
take that really to heart, especially the same people who tap these trees and cause these trees to cry and bleed are the same people that I know personally, these amazing villagers who are in charge of certain districts and certain parts of these trees. So I think it's also another way to connect to my Middle Eastern Oriental history, beyond something that's just the smell.
Brilliant. And you've brought this raw material in today, so we can have a little bit of a smell. Fantastic. All right. Well, we always love getting our nose onto raw materials because I think it helps us to appreciate the scents. Oh wow,
It's intense.
it's really intense, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
really beautiful
The-
too.
Do you get the terpene that I was telling you about?
Absolutely.
Initial
Yeah.
initial sniff, you definitely get that.
So
Thank
now,
you.
when you smell the raw material and then we smell our actual fragrance, it helps us appreciate it a little
Yes.
bit more to pick the specific note out because these are so well blended, right? And while each note sings, they're all blended together and it just helps us sort of pick that out.
With perfumery, it's always a game of contrast. You're consistently playing a paradigm or effect of this fragrance material, taking the transition this way or taking that way. I mean, we've mentioned how perfumery is a part of the perfume triangle. I like to look at it more as like a pine tree, where basically you got these very individual nuances. Every branch has an extreme level of accord, right? So each note is broken down into many, many pieces. Just like how a tree would have a branch with many, many leaves. But beautifully enough, I also create how nature creates. When you look at a tree, it has many leaves, but they look the same, but they're all unique. They're all individual. And that's the way that I create fragrance. The same way nature creates us and creates the environment around us.
I love it. I love it. And
It's a,
I
a
guess
very
the- yeah.
unique view. Yeah.
yeah, the perfume pyramid it's a simplistic way
Of course.
to explain things. And I guess it does help for those who are new
Of
to
course. of
perfume.
course.
It does help you understand, but as you said, it's far more complex than that. There are notes that bridge us from one level of that pyramid to another. It all sort of interconnects, and sometimes you'll even get your base notes coming out in your opening, just depending on how things are formulated. So I believe you brought another raw material in for us today. Can we
did.
experience that as well?
Of course, of course. So the royal grade hujari is this terpene, creamy, musky, warm smell. But when it comes to the Sudanese paparifera, this is the incense. This is what is most widely used next to caparira, which is another version. Probably botched that. But these two are the most widely used for essential oils. These are what you're usually smelling as a steam distillation, which, by the way, only captures 10% of the aromatic and medicinal properties of frankincense.
Okay.
So anytime you use steam distillation, it ends up ruining the fragrance. Heat and light are the enemies of anything perfume. So a lot of times when it comes to making perfumes, I'll be creating cold extractions, making sure they're in consistent cold temperatures. Being inside of a mall, it's extremely controlled. So my materials get the best position to evolve and grow and age in such a way. So usually a lot of times when I'm extracting my own materials as well, they get to have the best position. A lot of times perfumers will be doing it in rooms. They'll be hot and humid, a lot of light, a lot of synthetic UV light. So for me, I'm always trying my best to approach perfumery in the safest, most epic form. And that's what this is. This is me creating my own extraction. Same thing with the royal grade, but this is two different extraction processes. Give me a moment, I'll explain it.
Okay.
So when it comes to extracting frankincense, there's a couple of methods. Usually they call them absolutes. An absolute is usually my kind of favorite version of frankincense. An absolute being the most absolute concentrated this material can truly get. What I create is something called a pseudo-absolute, which pisses me off. They only call it a pseudo-absolute because we don't use hexane. Hexane being an extremely harsh chemical that we have to wash after the fact. But instead of using hexane, I use something called ethyl acetate, which evaporates a lot quicker and basically doesn't leave a resonance. Where hexane might leave a very small, minuscule amount. I learned a process in which I can separate the boswellic acids from the aromatic material, and basically chemically wash the material, creating even cleaner, more intense version of the frankincense that I'm using here. Now, traditionally, when you burn Sudanese papyrifera, it burns very camphorous and it's very intense. The citrus nuances are very blended with the incense notes. So I'm going to give this to you now, and you get to experience it. It's also very sticky. Imagine how hard it is to work with this
I
as
can
well.
imagine. Wow, just to get that blended into the
It's
fragrance.
just all stuck onto the lid and
Yeah,
everything.
and just give it a bit of a wave in the air.
Oh, I can already smell it.
Yeah, see how much more camphorous. It's intense. It's the true expression of frankincense, like you would experience it either burnt or raw.
Yeah.
Versus the essential
Oh.
oil.
You see? Yeah, just
Camphorous is a
wavering.
great word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. Oh, wow. It's quite unique.
It
isn't
is. It's see, these materials that I work with, they're also the Kilani Essence signature DNA, right?
Okay.
A lot of perfumers, they'll be using what other perfumers are using too. I
What's
believe
this called again?
papyrifera.
Papyrifera.
Yeah.
Papyrifera.
So the frankincense isn't just one tree. It's actually 52 to 60 expressions. So
Okay.
different versions, different places where they grow will give you a different result. Different soil, different seasons.
It's one of those ones you want to keep going back.
Yeah, it's so
More.
Yeah, it's
addictive.
quite
Very
an addictive
addictive.
smell.
That goes back to why I love Electric Fumo. It's so
Thank
addictive
you.
to smell. A lot of
Yeah.
my perfumes are downright addictive. And that's what honestly, my passion is to create something that you can't get enough of.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for bringing that in because, like obviously frankincense, such a, we all know it, but do we really know it? Because when I smell that, I get a true sense of it, different to what I might mentally have thought it smelled
I
like.
didn't even know that there was multiple types of frankincense, to be honest. I had no idea. So there you go. And you're saying there's 52 different types of...
Yep.
That's amazing.
And these are just two of like 6 that I have at my store.
Absolutely
Not to mention like the black hoodgery, the Omani gold. It's a combination of them, and they all have their own unique structure. And for me, I'll be able to create a sample set coming up very soon in the future for other perfumers and people like yourselves
yeah.
who get to understand exactly what it is we're using in these perfumes. You get to smell the identity, and I cannot wait. For that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We can't
Be
wait.
awesome.
Fantastic. Well, I think that is a really good segue into exploring some of the broader range. And I say some. We've brought in, I think, 6 other fragrances from the range today, but this is only a small amount of the total range. So before we get stuck into smelling some of the broader range, how many fragrances do you actually have roughly in the range?
So at the physical store, we have over 150 fragrance formulas that I've created personally.
50.
We have over 300 to 400 fragrances that I've created, like for people. We have over 2,700 to 3,000 customers, which all usually have their own individual scent as well. And it's all curated for them.
You have
individually.
been so busy
Yes.
for the last
Incredibly
3 years,
busy.
I've got to say.
But
Absolutely.
on top of that, I also have like 1,500 materials, which I know very intimately, very individually. I've experimented with them endlessly. I make probably like 200, 300 samples a month, like boxes of worth of samples, worth of different formulas, fragrance mixes. I'm always experimenting, always finding an opportunity to create. Because remember, I have basically from 9 to 5. So throughout that time, I'm cooking, bro. I'm there like, all right, this is the project today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're just going through it at a pace. But what I'm doing with the website is any fragrance that drops on our website is, 150% that I have absolutely focused on. That is concentrated, and that it's ready for the whole world to enjoy formula-wise.
Yeah.
And I'm working on creating my formulas. So if I choose to, if I go for that route of mass production, it's accessible and it's affordable and it's rich.
Scalable.
It's scalable. And that's why I'm extracting my own materials. I'm doing my own hydro distillations. I'm focusing on the real aspects of perfumery, the artisanal aspects, merging traditional classic Arabic perfumery with modern French techniques, the same way they would have made it 100 to 200 years ago.
Brilliant. All right. So in store, we get our personalized experience. When it's on the site, it's been proven over and over and over again. And that sort of makes it into what we might call like a core core range.
Yeah, core range, yeah.
Brilliant. All right. So we've brought in a few from the core range. Where would you like to start?
All right, let's start. I believe that we should start at Cyan Mango.
Cyan Mango. Fantastic. Now, must admit, I have read the notes, but I'm going to let you go through them. This one sounds pretty exciting to me. Fantastic. Let's have a bit of a spray. So obviously, we can only really do the blotters today. We're not going to get the full dry down experience. So what we'd love is once you spray them out and hand them over, if you can just take us through the opening, the heart, and the base.
I would be absolutely
And
honored.
just acknowledging that obviously we're only going to get the opening notes here. We'll get the rest of the dry down after, I guess, after the show, but there's only so much we can do during the show. Fantastic. So this is Cyan Mango. So I'm going to assume from the name that mango is a bit of a feature note here.
And Cyan was me basically prompting a little bit about my synesthesia and what color scheme that I get from the physical visual aspect of this perfume. Now, the beautiful compilation of this fragrance. For me, with my Asperger's and the new diversions that I have, I'm very, very sensitive to scent. So anything that's overly chemical, overly lolly, or too vape juice-like is something that I avoid wholeheartedly. So I wanted to be able to recreate a mango perfume that I would be proud to wear, that I'm happy to wear. And this is where the structure of this fragrance came from, a photorealistic mango perfume. Now, I'm obsessed with creating accords, and that's why I can create so many different perfumes at Kilani Essence. I can create anything I smell, from Biscoff to Skittles to mango to any fruit yet you can name, to the weirdest and most edgy things like the smell of human skin to the smell of you-know-what. And beautifully enough, there's a lot of marketing going into perfume. For me, I'm able to express the true material and how it structures that story. So this is the structure. So the triangle's coming up now. Cyan Mango is beautifully mango, pink grapefruit, ginger with a touch of pear, blended with the heart notes of blue lotus. I love the heart. Blue lotus in ancient Egypt was used as a psychedelic tea for healing purposes. In modern day time, as an absolute oil, the very concentrated version of it, it's an aphrodisiac. It's been studied to release dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin in your brain. So me using this specific oil had a purpose. I wanted to create the sensation of happy. And anytime I smell blue lotus, man, I just couldn't help but smile. And that, in combination with a very rich and effervescent combination of woods, vanilla, and musk, you get one of the most epic modern day perfumes.
All right, let's have a smell. All right.
Yes.
Cyan Mango.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Effervescent,
Absolutely.
sparkling.
It's photorealistic.
Yes.
Like
very-
you just want to take a bite
Yeah.
straight out of this, don't you? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
When's the last time you smelled mango like that?
I don't think I have.
Like,
Not from a fragrance.
Yeah,
From an
Yeah, it's
actual
quite different,
physical
yeah.
mango was the last time I smelled something like that in the middle of summer. Amazing that you've managed to nail that, because quite often when people try to do mango, it can come across a little bit synthetic.
rotten, too green,
Yeah.
very intense, very
Yeah.
sharp, very edgy, very chemically. Oh man, I went through every single sort of accord or blend of mango, and none hit. And then I just ended up creating my own, just using my synesthesia, and it just did beautifully. Utilizing blackcurrant absolute, paradisamide as well. That's a guava material, by the
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
So I've
Yeah.
created the illusion of mango using blackcurrant and guava.
It's interesting because
And
now that
then-
you say that, you can sort of pick those out. A
Yeah,
little bit
just
more.
ever so slightly, as I mentioned
And the
it.
grapefruit that you mentioned
See, the
earlier.
grapefruit and the ginger
Is
at the
that
top
zing.
hides it. It hides the guava. It hijacks it and makes it mango. It makes it that green, effervescent. And then slowly, as time develops with this perfume, the mango gets darker and more sweet, which leaves you with a rich, ripe mango.
Such a lovely summer fragrance, isn't it? This
Mm.
one, absolutely. This would probably take you across multiple seasons, to be honest, because as you said, it gets a little bit darker.
Yeah.
This might be able to suit you in winter, but would this be slightly more of a summery
This
fragrance?
is
to you?
definitely a part of our summer collection.
Yeah.
Summer.
It could be worn in any
Yeah.
occasion.
Yeah.
For me, I try to create fragrances that are unisex that hold the genders very well, as well as fragrances that can potentially be your signature daily driver.
Yeah.
Especially with Cyan Mango, I knew it was going to be something that it's an easy reach, something that everybody will be able to enjoy. Again, happy fragrance.
Yes.
And as we're smelling it now, the Blue Lotus is coming in and just taking over. On skin, it really projects itself very well. And with the latest blend, so this is Cyan Mango batch number 2. I wanted to do batch number 3 and completely dissolve this and just go niche with it, which by applying my own real saffron tincture from Iran that I tinctured myself, as well as a very beautiful combination of leather and suede. But I just came up with a new fragrance and called it Cyan Mango Leather.
This is gorgeous. I've got to say, this does not smell like the fragrance I'm about to mention, but I'm mentioning it for a reason. If you have been eyeing off something like Lumari Porthole, for instance, which is quite a fruity fragrance, give this a try first, because I actually think that this is far more sophisticated. It gives you a vibe of what that fruitiness that you're trying to get, but this is real affordable luxury right here with a photorealistic rather than a synthetic mango smell. It's definitely, I would try this over something like a Lumari Porthole any day of the week. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's lovely.
What a
isn't it?
beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
fragrance. Not the same. And I think that the Blue Lotus actually adds that depth and that sophistication in there that really separates
I
itself.
would like just to ask about the Blue Lotus, because I would love to know how I can separate that. Like, how can I get that scent from this?
Okay, honestly, on paper, it does me no justice.
Yeah.
Try it on skin.
Okay. I've got a free hand. Yeah.
And I can't
Thank
tell you how many times
I'll have a
people
sip
have
later.
talked to me
Yeah.
and like send me a message going, this made me really emotional.
Uh-huh.
This made me feel really emotional. This is a very emotional fragrance. I've had at least 3 people almost cry when they smell it. Each person experiences Blue Lotus differently. For me personally, it gives me an invigorating feeling. It's literally a sensation rather than just a scent.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, I can't express it more than it
I have
is
heard
this
about this
beautiful,
before.
ethereal
we
blue
know that
blend.
there are herbs and plants that do this.
Yeah, but this specific one
The Blue
is
Lotus.
it's for meditative purposes. It can help open up the third eye.
That's correct.
It's been used again for thousands of years. I think that there's records of this being used in ancient Egypt as
That's
well.
correct.
So used by the ancient priests and priestesses.
Specifically, that's where this Blue Lotus also comes from. It's Egyptian Blue Lotus.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really intriguing ingredient. I don't think I've ever heard of it
No.
or seen it being used in perfumery before. I think that's absolutely amazing, giving this something really beautifully unique, very fresh. But again, you don't go into that immature area. They're all sophisticated, mature fragrances that you would, wear to any sort of sophisticated function. You wear that with a suit. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Love it. Which fragrance should we move on to next?
All right. I think we should definitely move into the latest release from Kilani Essence, which is Phantom Magnolia. And this is a play on how I originally created this perfume. Now, I created this perfume as a phantom fragrance. Now, I do a lot of these where I create a phantom. Now, what does that mean in perfumery? It means that I've created a formula that could never, ever be recreated again. It is a single piece of honed in, wholehearted, soulful art that only a couple of people can get to own. So truly a collectible item. And for me, I'll be doing 3 bottles per batch for this fragrance. So every 3 people will get their own unique structure for this formula. There is a base formula that I use, and then every time I'll edit and touch a little bit. Obviously, with IFRA standards in mind and the utmost amount of safety and care, especially if someone's going to buy it from me, we would be customizing it and having that consultation of understanding exactly what they're comfortable with and what they're experiencing. Let us talk about
Pretty excited
Phantom
to
Magnolia.
smell it.
This
Yeah.
just sounds so unique, doesn't it?
So this also contains Blue Lotus, hence why I wanted to talk about it.
Very cool.
Now, in this, you get to really see Lotus and Magnolia together.
Wow.
Now, Magnolia is my favorite flower of all time, simply because I have a magnolia tree in my backyard. Every autumn, every spring, it comes to life. And a lot of times I'll be sitting out there meditating and my mom's burning incense. Just very honed in feeling. That's what September 66 is all about. But Phantom Magnolia wanted to create the meditative effect. That actually sitting there and being in peace and feeling that effervescent happiness. So I utilized Magnolia, this gingery, black pepper, fresh, ethereal floral with the bright, rich, indahilic, sweet nature of Blue Lotus, creating this really unique heart. And then I played on this heart by adding citruses and a very beautiful pear and the most epic accord. I've been trying to figure out how to make the smell of tamarind, which is this Indian fruit. Tamarind, I could not find in any perfume ever. Anytime I saw it as a note breakdown, didn't really smell like it. So I made it my mission to make the smell of tamarind. It's this sour sweetness. Now it opens with the tamarind and then it transitions into the magnolia.
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you. Let's have a smell.
Oh.
That is,
Oh. It's a great opening.
it is the tamarind.
Wow, this sort of taking me back to Asia, isn't it? That smell, because you don't get it a lot over
No,
here.
you
That's
don't.
correct. That sour, sweet, addictive. It's really mouth-watering, super addictive.
It's great. It's like you say, not heard of it in a fragrance, but isn't it perfect in a fragrance?
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of molecules, especially modern-day molecules used for the sweetness, they contain these really intense sour nuances that I personally dislike. I'll usually find very sharp. But I always try to challenge myself. Like, for me, I'm not the biggest fan of lavender, but I'll challenge myself with working with lavender fragrances to see if I can approach it better, more professionally, deeper, sweeter, until I usually find that little golden ratio.
This one's definitely quite a delicate fragrance to my nose. It's I guess one of those ones that feels quite intimate.
Correct.
So
It also feels like a very expensive, like that comes to mind to me as well. Like
got that high-end
that very
smell,
high
for
end
sure.
kind of.
Halveltalide is a pear-like musk that I used a lot in this fragrance, and it costs like $1 per gram or something, maybe even more. Very, very expensive. And I use it all willy-nilly, baby.
Well, you're definitely getting bang for buck with this
Yeah.
one. This is fantastic. I've got to say, and you're going to do this all the way through these fragrances, and you've done it all the way through the interview. The way you talk about the notes and how you construct fragrance, it's absolutely mesmerizing. I just find myself just like sort of getting lost in the
Yeah, you
description.
get lost in
I'm
my
like,
world,
I don't
yeah.
even know what to ask
that
you
one.
next.
I need this one. I need that one.
But just the passion, it oozes out of every sentence that you use, and I think this is.
It's infectious, isn't it?
It is infectious. Like if you're wondering what Kilani Essence is about, it's about that.
Amen. I could not have said that better.
Absolutely amazing. I can smell it in every note that you produce, every bottle that you're pulling out. That your passion is just infused into absolutely everything. So if you're wondering whether this brand is passionate about what they do, wonder no more, because 100% I can just feel it coming out of you. I love this fragrance. This is one I think, Robin, would be absolutely beautiful on you. It would
You know me well.
Absolutely.
I have a
I've told that
question.
she loves it already. So.
As you guys are smelling it and it's getting further towards the heart, it just continuously gets better and better and better. And that's something that I really love about dynamic perfumes, especially when they're blended very well. It's the transitions between the top, middle, and base that align and create harmony over and over again through the transitionary basis of monomolecules. So each part of the transition has like 4 to 5 different other molecules at a very low concentrations to allow each transition to feel sensation-wise smooth and delicate and luxurious and silky and velvety, something that me and House of Turkmen are very passionate about, to be able to create fragrances that are almost velvet-like, to create that smooth richness. And to be honest, something that keeps missing in the industry. You'd get it when a brand first starts off, and then as it evolves, it gets further and further away from that. A personal mission of mine is to be able to reintroduce that back into the industry, to create that as the industry standard rather than mass production schmoops.
Yeah, absolutely. This is gorgeous, and I can tell that you would absolutely love wearing this on your skin. I think that, we often say on the show, you
I'll
can
have
imagine
to find another
we're
spot.
we're passionate
For another
collectors as
one.
well, and it's very hard to make your way into the collection unless you're unique. And this is just we haven't got anything like this in our collection. I haven't smelled anything like that before. That is just it's absolutely unique. We've smelled a lot, so it is absolutely unique
Let's go
to my
for the
mind.
next one. I'm ready to
Let's
show
do
it.
Okay, let's do it.
Now back to the fruity fragrances. Let's talk about a memory in a bottle, baby. A memory in a bottle. This is one of my favorites, if not one of the top sellers at Kilani Essence. When I first came up with this, till this day, this has held me up. Now, Code Kilani is me recreating a moment of when I was around 7 years old, first day in Australia, very, very fresh into this place, and the happiness that I got of eating a whole bag of green Skittles on a couch that my mum would spray with rose water. I am more than honored to be able to show you guys this.
I love it. So this is a memory.
This is a memory, and it smells like a memory. It's not childishly sweet. It has this modern adult edge to it. It's almost like nostalgia or deja vu.
Okay, let's have a smell. So rose water, you said.
Rose water.
And then Skittles, which has obviously got a whole
Skittles.
variety of different smells and experiences in it. Very gourmand, isn't it? It's very delicious.
I'm not sure if you experienced this, but maybe like 6 years ago, Skittles had this. They had the ones that were coated with sugar and citric acid. So it had this granulated feeling, and when you put it in your mouth, super sour, and then it settles into the sweetness. That's what I wanted to recreate. It's that granulated citric acid sugar sensation that as a kid, you're just so keen on having again and again and again. And it's that sour experience without being overly childish, having an adult edge.
Yeah.
Because as it transitions, you get vanilla, you get rose, you get effervescent jasmine. It's almost like the couch is clean.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it is not an immature fragrance. It is absolutely something that would be worn by an adult, and I'd love to wear this because it smells delicious. But I also know our kids would love.
Oh no!
Absolutely.
The kids will love it.
Yeah,
the kids will love it.
Yeah, they would be a massive fan of this. This is really beautiful. And I love the fact that this is taking you back to a memory of childhood. And this, I'm sure when you smell this, you're back on that couch.
Yep.
You're stuffing your face with Skittles.
Yeah, just feeling like a kid.
Yeah, living joy. It's absolutely
already
beautiful.
evolving too. Like, that initial blast of, as you said, that Skittly stuff. But now it's kind of, you can already get the vanilla and the rose water and everything.
I'm absolutely 100% in creating this fragrance. I used my synesthesia to the utmost level. Like, I downed so many Skittles, de-engineered the flavoring components, looked into the chemistry. I have a science friend who loves testing things with GCMS machines. So I asked him to test the Skittles and he told me the flavoring agents they used as well. Wow. So I was able to de-engineer that perfumery wise. And that was amazing. That experience of understanding what kind of flavorings they use in our food and having that in-depth understanding of the chemistry of food as well as the chemistry of fragrance and how the same chemical manufacturers who create our fragrance materials also create our flavor materials. So like, it's very, very awesome to have that level of in-depth love for these things.
Yeah, they're often one and the same, aren't they? And we had Zachariah from Anomalous on the show, and he also uses that GCMS machine to reverse engineer and understand the fragrance a little bit more. And we often associate these machines with dupes, but that's not necessarily how they are always used. They're used to, okay, there's this unique smell. How do I identify that smell and deconstruct the smell? And it's a really good tool for perfumers to use to better understand and recreate notes rather than entire fragrances, although they can be used, obviously, to recreate an entire fragrance if you want to.
Beautifully enough, I think the whole structure of being a perfumer is to be able to build accords, right? There is a massive distinction and difference between mixers, blenders, like perfumers and businessmen.
Yes.
It's a very difficult, they can bridge and you can fill those gaps 100% respectfully.
Yeah.
But there is a massive separation and they love to separate. They love to separate the nose from the marketing, from the perfume. which is very cool as well.
Yeah,
It's really
absolutely.
cool, right?
It's all the colours of the industry.
Of
isn't
course,
it?
and I love that.
I love the colour of the juice, by the way.
I was going to talk
It's so
about that
amazing,
for a
isn't
minute.
it? That
It's-
electric blue
Yeah.
sort of look. Yeah, it's
But it also, because when I smell this, I don't have any kind of colours as thing, but I associate red. Because in my head, I'm thinking, probably because the boxes are red of the Skittles and the rose water, I'm thinking red and pink when I smell it. But the colour of the fragrance is completely different.
yeah. I get that sort of blue raspberry type.
So
of
beautifully enough,
raspberry,
the
yeah.
reason I chose that color specifically for Code Kilani is I'm using the same tactic Skittles uses.
Yep.
Bright colors, effervescent, and the colors don't actually match the flavor.
No, they don't.
Ah,
They
there you
don't.
go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, fantastic. And I love it. It's very appealing.
So okay.
All right, which one should we move on to next?
All right, let's cook. I'm absolutely honored to show you guys the last bottle of Uncharted, and you guys being the last people to experience this specific batch, which is batch number 1.
Oh, what an honour.
Yes.
Fantastic. I am absolutely looking forward to this. And I think, while you're reaching out for those, just a bit of a call out, and we'll make sure that we superimpose this onto the screen. But the boxes that you package your fragrances in and the actual fragrance bottles themselves, just so much attention to detail.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. The actual the boxes themselves really scream that Middle Eastern perfumery, the artwork that you've got. I think the box and the bottle are part of the perfume experience as well. I think it's really
I get to
Definitely.
see my synesthesia showcased on the bottom of the box. If you look at the bottom of the box right there, you get to see this beautiful wave format of geometrics. That's what it looks like in my head, but with a lot more sharp, edgy waves, a lot more colors, and a lot more intense. But let's talk about
Let's talk the
Uncharted.
fragrance. Absolutely.
Okay.
My very first approach to this style of perfume. Now, for me, I'm not the biggest fan of men's fragrances, especially the blue ones or the ones that represent themselves as the aromatic quality of the industry. For me, a lot of the modern French style of perfumes that we get from designers are traditionally Oriental scents that are designed for the Western nose.
Yes.
So they're called westernized perfumes. We try not to use the word Oriental anymore as perfumers, but that's where most of the perfume materials come from.
Is that because it's got like a negative connotation around racism, or
I
what's the?
I believe that
about
it's
that,
I believe that it comes down to the colonization aspect of the Middle
Okay.
East
that
and
makes
how
sense.
the British and the French came into the Middle East to highlight, and the same thing happened to India as well, to basically take advantage of the spice trade and
Right.
to fully encompass those. Early French perfumers would go to the Middle East, structure their materials, structure their perfumes on Middle Eastern based style, and then call it French.
Okay, so it's theft,
Okay.
effectively. Yeah.
Yeah. But ironically, I don't think it's theft. I think that everything in this world is an imitation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an
It's inspiration.
interpretation.
It's
So-
inspiration.
I believe that they had every right to utilize their materials to basically create a generation of perfumers who curated and planted the seeds for the modern French perfume evolution, which basically gave us a handful of amazing materials, by the way.
Mm.
I absolutely love the style of perfumery here, and I believe that the most marketable are the French. You know, they basically encompassed what the industry is about: the marketing, the programming, and being able to blend something and call it quality. Now, over here on the Western end, you'll get a designer perfume with 2 drops of those natural materials, and they allow you to charge an arm and a leg. Where if you go to the Middle East, the bare minimum is the natural material and the quality. It's bare minimum.
Yeah.
And over here, it's way different. And they see quality as consistency. In the Middle East, we see quality as natural, as God and handmade, like
Yeah.
truly.
Mm.
And again, we've lost that aspect of perfume as well. So we've lost 2 major aspects: the true artisanal cultural representation of all fragrances and how they can all mix and match and describe each other. And most beautifully, how I've come to create this.
Fantastic.
My
Well,
approach.
let's have a spray. And I
Yes.
think just to that point that, whenever we lift and shift these things from one culture to another, great things can happen. And so
Yeah.
it's not necessarily theft. It's probably not the right word, but inspiration. But the only
Yeah.
difference is calling it out as your inspiration. I think when you were talking about this, I sort of think about the story that Ali Erkekli told us about the rose bandit and the birth of the
Here you go.
damask rose or the Turkish rose.
Which is one of my favorites.
Absolutely. But it wouldn't have happened if somebody hadn't have picked up that rose, stolen it, and taken it to another country and propagated it and given it its own unique, genealogy. And now we've got this beautiful ingredient that we can use in perfume. But I digress. Let's have a smell, and you can tell us what notes we're experiencing.
So the beginning is the most epic, addictive nuance of frankincense. Now, I've extracted frankincense to give this animalic ambergris-like effect. And to be able to extract the material and mature it to a certain point where it gives you this effect is extremely difficult. And most importantly, especially with Uncharted, it's being able to create a lime, lemon, citrus aromatic that is so damn right addictive and borderline masculine. A fragrance that this reminds me of is Search by Amouage. Amouage is one of those companies that inspires me endlessly.
Yeah.
They are, to me, the honest pedestal of perfumery. High quality materials, extreme aging processes, unique extractions, unique resins. This is basically how I've structured my whole perfumery. It's being able to create how a country creates an industry. That's how much they pour into the perfumes, the branding, the marketing, the bottles. For me, I don't have Arab money like that. I've poured every last blood, sweat, sacrifice, and tear, everything in between into these perfumes and the level of quality that they have. And I'm not afraid to pour into it.
Yeah, this is probably why we vibe so much with your brand, because Amouage is our favourite sort of international house. We love the Omani perfumery. It is the pinnacle in our minds of Middle Eastern perfume as well, and we think it's gorgeous. And again, powerful, high quality. It's really about the materials that they hero, not just the artistry. It's both, bringing both together, and I can sort of see this in some of your perfume as well. And this is, you called this out as bordering on masculine. This is a masculine fragrance to my nose. This is something I want to wear. This is something I want to wear in a high-powered boardroom where I'm communicating that I'm the man, I'm the shit.
And
it's got that vibe to it for sure.
Yeah, you're going to stay really fresh no matter how much pressure you might be under on that day. It really you definitely get that.
And it's downright addictive. That's one thing I've realized about Uncharted. It is so addictive. It's that it's the combination of oud with sandalwood and cedarwood to contrast the beauty of the citrus at the top. And then the heart base is the awesome, beautiful combination of 3 different types of frankincenses that give it the heart. Amazingly enough, you got cade, which is this smoky, burnt material used throughout the perfume industry. It utilizes through destructive distillation, and that's something that I really love about perfume, being able to utilize fumo, which is how perfume was originally applied through the use of smoke. Through the destruction of one material into the evolution of its next form, which is either smoke or resin or oleoresin, essential oil, absolute, and you can go on. But to have different expressions of a material and to be able to know how to combine them together to be able to create harmonies and accords that represent power, that represent dominance, that represent that Middle Eastern ethos of being able to put on a fragrance that lasts through the heat. But beautifully enough, like growing up in Australia, like I have made sure to create something with Uncharted that really showcases the artisanal aspect of Kilani Essence. Like Electric Fumo showcases that in the best way, but Uncharted is the one that really kind of brings the DNA out. That smokiness, the sweetness, the citrus.
That's you bottled power.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
That's what you bottled there. That's amazing. That is a really sophisticated fragrance.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm truly blown away by that fragrance. That
Also
is
had
amazing.
a couple of friends complain to me, and by the way, something that I do consistently all the time is I fix fragrances. People will bring me a perfume and I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yo, they cut some corners, bruv. Dehydromercenol here, too much hedia in there, too much isosuper, it's getting too sour, too sweet. Usually I'll be doing these fixes. So I've had 3 people come up to me and talk to me about Search by Amouage and how the lemon and lime combination was so intense that they couldn't even wear the perfume. It was too much. And they weren't able, like, again, beautiful materials, executed just a little too edgy.
Yeah.
Again, I believe that when a perfumery has a material like this and showcases it, they can potentially override it and overdose the scent, especially with the bigger batches. If I was at Amouage's level of quality, man, I'd be happy to make small batch fragrances.
Yeah, absolutely. And this happens. I mean, I like a challenging fragrance, and we were in a perfumery yesterday, and we were smelling some of the zoology range. And one of the ones that I absolutely loved was the Zoology Elephant Sanctuary edition, which sort of dials back some of those challenging notes. And I read a few reviews of it that it's not challenging anymore. But do you really want to smell like monkey ass, or do you want to smell like something that's quite appealing,
nice.
right?
Quite appealing,
There's
yeah.
a balance there.
There's a balance. There's always a balance.
It's an
Challenging, but
interpretation rather than
you don't want to put everybody off how you smell. You also want to smell nice. And so you've got to strike that nice little balance there of challenging enough to be niche, but wearable enough so that other people go, I want to sit near you and I want to smell more of that.
Yeah.
So
a little quote that gets passed down through perfumers, and that was given to me as a little gift, is the best perfumers know when to control the chaos and when to stop. And that's the most beautiful thing in the world to me. It's being able to know when the material has reached its peak ratio, or the transition of that has given the right aspect of what I'm trying to project here. I think one of the biggest pet peeves that I have in perfume is reading that ingredient basis and seeing how well they could have made a perfume, how amazing these materials are, how much access to millions of dollars these people have, yet they still create something mediocre just to be able to be accepted by a broader range of commercial people. That for me hurts my heart all the time. But at the end of the day, like, that's all the pretty colors of perfumery, and anything is an opportunity to grow and evolve. And I love doing that. I love being able to have someone come to me and go, hey, I really don't like this part about a Chanel No. 5, and can you help guide me towards what a better choice is? And usually most of the time we're creating that same fragrance and 10 times better, being able to utilize real vanilla, real labdanum, have that in-depth understanding of how this fragrance was actually created when Chanel was actually there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what she would have created, what she would have accepted as okay. And for me, I'm finding myself putting myself in the positions of great perfumers like Alexandre Gaultieri, one of my top favorite perfumers of all time. Or another one is Rodrigo from the house of John Varvatos. He's a perfumer that worked for a very long time, right? I love his perfumery, the way that he uses his Mexican vanilla and the leather and the approach towards something genuinely bold, but extremely well blended. Perfumers like that inspire me endlessly.
Absolutely. We're big fans of Cecile Zarokian and her use of Madagascan vanilla, but also creating quite challenging Middle Eastern fragrances. I think she's been well utilized by Amouage in the past with a number of different fragrances that she's created. But yeah, absolutely. I see this all the way through your perfumery. It's straddling that nice line between challenging and niche and wearable. And I think this is why niche perfumery exists in the first place, right? If you want something quite generic, that's pop down to Myer or pop down to Chemist Warehouse, you'll find those fragrances.
Find the consistency there.
But if you want something that pushes the envelope a little bit further and you want those nice raw materials, this is why niche and artisanal perfumery exists in the first place. And this is where you sit quite well. Fantastic. All right. So what one should we move on to next?
All right. Let's go back to something a little bit soulful, because I know we're still in the heart of things. So let's talk about September 1966, my tribute to my beautiful mom.
Fantastic.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yes.
I mentioned before that I have a very beautiful magnolia tree in my backyard, and I can't express to you how many times that tree has given life. And every time it's given life, it has never died without fading. I've always utilized the flowers either as creating a tincture, learning extraction processes with it, or simply telling, "Hey, mom, can you make us some magnolia jam?" This is a moment that I shared with my mom. Now, my mom, she loves challenging perfumes. She wears ombre leather by Tom Ford, and she wears it like no tomorrow, dude.
Wow. Okay, that is quite a challenging one
She
to wear.
loves it. She loves black pepper, intense leather, the darkest, dankest of oud, because my mom is a powerful woman, and she likes to let people know she's a powerful woman.
Awesome.
She walks in the room, and
She
you know
must
she's
need
in
to
the
carry
room.
that off. Yeah.
Um,
Certainly giving me a flavour of what this one might be like.
So this is hybrid of two fragrances. One being Black Afghano by the House of Nazamato, which is my mom's favorite fragrance and something that she wears all the time. So she's not wearing ombre leather, she's wearing Black Afghano.
Okay.
Nazamato being her favorite perfumer. Now, I think it's very intense. So what I've done is I've applied my approach towards perfume, making it wearable, effervescent, feminine, while also maintaining the power, the structure, and the love and respect for the artists who created this. September 1966 is another fragrance that comes to my mind.
you.
And it is very, very awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I could smell this before
Yeah,
you
I
passed
didn't
it
even need to.
over.
Really.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
the power is most certainly there.
So you got frankincense with oud at the base, which effervescently beautifully combines the heart, which is magnolia and heliotrope. Heliotrope being something that is heavily restricted, and we've created multiple derivatives of this molecule. So this is a derivative of that molecule. And beautifully enough, it blends so well with the oud that it creates a rainy, earthy effect. It almost smells like being under a persimmons tree or a magnolia tree while it's raining. Across from you, just upstairs where my house is, would be me and my mom burning frankincense. So you get that smokiness, the sweetness from the magnolia, the intensity of the heliotrope that's pretty much blended with rhubarb. So the rhubarb, it's this burst of richness, this fruitiness, basically making it wearable.
Yeah,
Mm.
certainly. And what type of oud have you used in this?
So I've specifically used traditional AAA Cambodian oud, which is
Cambodian, yeah.
extremely animalic and extremely thick, hence the power of this fragrance and where it comes from. But I wanted to showcase it in a westernized front, so it's not the oud that everyone expects of being animalic and genuinely like down to right masculine earthy.
Yeah.
It's more of a sitting in the rain kind of earthy.
Yeah.
Like
Almost got a bit of a petrichorness to it.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
It's really
Absolutely.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes oud can have that sort of fecally nature.
Yeah.
So this is more of an earthy, rainy.
Yeah,
earthy.
rainy.
It doesn't have that, does it?
It
But
smells
still
like-
got that intensity of the oud.
Damp forest. It's
Mm.
almost like a damp forest, but it's
But
not
more
foresty.
aromatic.
Yeah, more aromatic, more masculine, more Middle Eastern rather than being like green or like leafy or synthetic chemicals. It's like, what the hell? I'm smelling an environment. Like I'm in an environment. That's the whole approach to this. It's, hey mom, I wanted to recreate this to tribute to the moment that we share. It's us sitting together in front of our magnolia tree, meditating, having that interconnection of father and father, mother, and son love. And when I say father, I mean God.
This is absolutely beautiful. So this is a tribute to the power of your mother.
Yeah.
And how she projects herself out into the world. It has got that nice, it's a unisex fragrance that leans a bit masculine, and that's some of the masculine energy that she is sort of pushing out there into the world. So it's wearable by both. So if you are a powerful woman, you can wear this. If you're a powerful man, you can wear this. This appeals to everyone. Love it. Beautiful.
I know you love it. This is very.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
And,
It's
a lot of
it's tickling
times-
me a lot. I like it.
A lot of times when I talk to my mom about perfume, she doesn't really see the same thing as I see when it comes to like what society sees when it comes to fragrance. Like, this is masculine, this is feminine. My mom goes, when God created a rose, he didn't go, that's for girls and that's for boys.
Yeah, it's
He created a rose. And most importantly, it's being able to honor those materials. Like in the Middle East, rose represents power, dominance, like the true meaning of depth.
Yeah.
Where over here on the West, it represents love, Valentine's Day, care, relationships, femininity, right? Where different parts of the world will hold different materials.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Notes,
And different
colours, all those type of things.
Insightful.
They're not male or female. It's just what we've assigned to it. And often that's just marketing, let's be
Yeah.
honest. So, and I agree with you, Mum. If it smells nice and you like it, wear it. Don't worry about whether it's considered male or female. It's absolutely irrelevant. It's how it makes you feel. That's what perfumery is all about. How does it make you feel? Beautiful. Now, I'm absolutely losing track here
I
of
got
where
you.
we're at.
I'm not.
I'm glad you're on top of it. Which one are we going to experience next?
Now, beautifully enough, let's talk about the most second popular of our collection, something that everybody can appreciate, from little boys to the biggest of the men's. This is Profondos Fumo. This sounds a little bit like a Harry Potter spell. Forgive me. Now, profondos in Latin means profoundly, and fumo means smoke. So profoundly deep smoke is my approach to this perfume. Now, my brothers and a handful of my friends really love the Creed Aventus DNA, which Creed, with all the respect and due diligence, I absolutely love their approach to perfumery. But as batches evolve, the smokiness dissolves. The depth of the fragrance is something that I personally can't find, especially with modern day batches. Now, if you like something that's just crisp, clean, and ever so slightly aromatic, go for Creed Aventus and the original $450 price tag. But if you want a real men's fragrance, you go for Profondos Fumo.
All right.
All right.
That's big.
That's
All
big.
right, so that's
big.
we've set the bar quite high here. But let's have a smell. I'm a big fan of the Aventus DNA, I've got to say. Aventus Absolute is one of the more favorite releases from Creed recently. But yeah, you can't go. It's a little bit of a saturated smell. It's been done many times before. I'll be interested to see what your interpretation of this one's going to be.
So let's start at the very top of this perfume. The very top of this perfume is this smoked, caramelized pineapple. Once again, when I'm making fruits in perfume, I'm usually creating fruits that represent a quality that you would be able to pick out from the real food. So if you were to char pineapple, you'd be able to smell the combination of that in my perfume.
Yep.
At the base, you've got this earthy oud blended beautifully with a rich sandalwood that's creamy and sweet, blended with a combination of frankincense and cardamom to give it this awesome freshness. I've manipulated the frankincense here to play the role of the musk. So what's happening is you get this really intense sweetness from the pineapple, and then it evolves into this dark, woody, rich kind of style of perfume that to me represents masculinity quite well.
All right.
Wow, it can eat the room. It's strong.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
You got
All right. You've done this quite differently. But
Oops, sorry. Thank you.
So I think that's a call out here. In Aventus, while it is a pineapple based perfume, it's not the dominant sort of note that comes through. You can't really pick it out as pineapple. Well, at least to my nose. It's sort of blended in
Sharp,
there. Yeah,
fresh,
sharp,
edgy, just really like chemical smelling pineapple to me.
The cardamom with it is beautiful.
It is. Usually most perfumers, when they're creating a pineapple accord, they'll be using L-capronate, which is really intense. For me, to utilize this, I used a combination of awesome materials, avoiding manzanite, avoiding L-capronate, and utilizing natural materials that give off the dark, rich sensation of pineapple, and then recreating the illusion of pineapple from then forward, using certain lactonic materials and fruity materials that you think might not make pineapple, but wow, surprisingly enough, does.
Yeah, you can really pick the pineapple out in this. It's, again, you do that photorealistic thing really well.
Thank you.
When the show finishes today, I'm going to find a spot that I haven't sprayed on to spray this on so that I can go all the way through the dry down, because I can feel that this is going to evolve quite a lot on skin, and that maybe we're not quite doing it justice on the
blotter. Yeah, because once you put it on the blotter, I feel like with a lot of my perfumes, because there's such high concentrations, you'll have a bit of a dissonance between the sweetness and the woods.
Yeah.
On skin, the frankincense reacts really well, and you get the terpenes, you get the citruses. You get more of a well evened out structure. I mean, I recommend spraying a little bit right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I haven't sprayed. I'm pretty sure I haven't sprayed.
You got a little
anything.
bit of space, mate.
There you go.
Yeah, I haven't got anything here.
There you go.
Sorry, let's put it on here. I love this. I love this DNA. Everybody does. I mean, if you've been in perfume for a while, you love the Aventus type of DNA.
Yeah.
And that pineapple sort of smell. But
Awesome.
this is a different league. Different league we're playing in. Yeah, we're playing with the big boys now when it comes to this fragrance. This is not that mass-produced smell. This is, if you love the DNA and this is everything you wanted that fragrance to be. That's
literally, again, another approach to my perfumes. It's what I wish it would be, what I'm smelling versus what I get out of execution. Most of the time out of these brands is harsh, man.
You have to wear this on skin, sorry.
You have to. You
Does it
have
really
to.
smell different?
I'm going to move the microphone for a moment so you can smell this, how different this is on my skin to the blotter.
And
can't do justice to that on a blotter, sorry. It needs to go on the skin.
The vanilla absolute really takes home.
Oh my God. This is amazing. I'm glad I saved some skin for this. That is wow. I've got no other words. It's wow. That's amazing.
Underrated for sure. Profondos Fumo, definitely underrated. And I created Electric Fumo on the same kind of ethos of creating a very dominant, powerful fragrance that really hones in on frankincense, on the fruity aspects, on nature, and being able to capture the true meaning of art. And that comes from the heart, my heart in the perfume, my soul.
That is a killer fragrance. Oh my God. All right. I'm gonna stop gushing over it because it is so gorgeous. I will message you when I get home and I'll tell you how this has gone through the dry down for me as well. All right. So as I said, I have completely lost track. I'm not sure how many fragrances.
I got you, man. I got you.
4, 5. I think we've got one more.
We're cooking. We're on the 7th one now.
Fantastic. All right. Let's go.
Right. Let's cook. All right. I'm very excited to be able to share with you guys the new Masterclass of perfume.
Oh.
This, ladies and gentlemen, and I would love to be able to discuss this with you guys. How well a niche perfume can actually come together. A perfume that's extremely popular at the moment is Outlines by
Absolutely.
And I looked at that DNA like, wow, that's beautiful. And then I looked at another DNA from the House of Tom Ford being Tobacco Oud. And I was like, wow, I like that too. And I smelled both fragrances and I had that encompassing feeling. And then I smelled the most epic Amouage perfume I've ever smelled. A friend of mine brought me Royal Tobacco Obus by Amouage. And at that point, I had never smelled that before. And I was looking for that sort of smell. Oud Zarian didn't do it for me from Creed, but Royal Tobacco did. As a collector, a valid collector of many fragrances, when I smelled that, my heart dropped. So I made it my mission not to spend $850 on that bottle, but to make it for my friends, for my family, and especially for myself.
Robert's throwing a little smile at me because so Royal Tobacco from the Opus range in Amouage is the cornerstone of my collection. So.
So me and you both, we have similar tastes then, and I love you for that, buddy. Trent, I love you, bro. Wow. Okay. So, Ruh al-Sultan translates from the soul of the king. And that's exactly what I try to recreate here. I utilize some of the most royal grade ouds, some of the highest quality resins at the cleanest extraction processes. Fenugreek, coriander CO2, blended beautifully with tobacco absolute, labdanum absolute, myrrh. The Indian oud, which is usually very intense, is so well blended in this.
Yeah, I can see the happy. I can actually feel the energy coming off you.
Yeah, yeah.
Happy
So-
and excitement.
It's now with the original, I feel like they overdosed the sweetness because they couldn't afford to mass produce something that had that much quality in it. So what I've done here is I've reversed engineered it and I reintroduced the quality without that extra dose of sweetness. So you get the layering of a unisex fragrance that was predominantly made just for men, but this is unisex. Because my mom wore it and she was like, "This is the best thing I've ever worn." I'm like, "Bruh, thank you, mom. I love you for that."
So I'm gonna steal a term from one of our good friends and fellow fragrance enthusiast, Marcelo Olategeri, who runs his own channel as well, which is an absolutely fantastic niche fragrance collector. But this is when he smells a fragrance that blows him away. It's just one word, which is boom. And this is a boom fragrance. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
You have nailed this, my friend.
The soul
Absolutely
of the
nailed
king,
this.
huh?
The soul of the king. I wanted to be able to recreate something that if I were alive 1,000 years ago, I would be happy to present to a king without him cutting off my head.
This is amazing. I have no idea how you've done this. This
It's
is
so smooth. That's one thing about this. A lot of the niche perfumes, man, they go edgy with it. They
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
so edgy with it. It's like these materials shine. Just let them shine. Let them project lightly and beautifully. I believe that we live in a world today where the strength of a perfume represents the quality, and that is horrible. For me personally, I don't care for the longest longevity. I know the materials speak for themselves, and I respect them. A citrus will last an hour to 2 hours max, right? Maybe even 10 minutes on your skin. And being able to create the illusion of citrus that lasts is a very beautiful approach to perfumery. But to simply just overdose certain materials to cut corners or simply because the fragrance can't take it.
yeah.
I don't know, man. For me, I guess I love them and I hate them for it because I love them because they gave me the opportunity to recreate this a million times better. I hate them for it because I wish I could buy the original and have the same sensation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably a good call out here is that this is, while that's the inspiration, this is not by any means any sort of clone or dupe or recreation whatsoever. This is taking the DNA, much like the last fragrance as well. It's taking the DNA that's, funnily enough, Cecile Zarokian created with that particular fragrance, and you have smoothed out the edges. You've deepened here some of the valleys of the fragrance, and you've created something that is unique and different that harks back to I can smell the inspiration, but it's a different fragrance. It is sophisticated. It is deep. It's very wearable because you've taken those harsh edges and you've smoothed them out really nicely. Very sophisticated, very manly. Just a gorgeous fragrance. I love it, and I've got smiles all over my face. This is brilliant.
Yeah, it's got a smoothness to it, like you say. Even though obviously these are very powerful ingredients, and that comes across immediately. It's got some sort of softness already, and I'm sure that mellows out.
It mellows out, especially on skin, guys. Oh my God, this perfume on skin is so stunning, my guy, because you really get the combination of greenery with the sweetness, with the richness of the incense, giving a very beautiful, well-rounded balance of the materials. And this perfume is me showcasing to the world and anyone who buys this fragrance from me how well you can blend these materials into a harmony. I'm consistently creating harmony here. It's almost like the most beautiful song. To be able to create a very smooth, buttery effect is just awesome.
Yeah, and I'd say you would probably prefer this one to Royal Tobacco because the comment that you usually make, because of the harshness, you get that curry type smell.
That's from the
initially.
fenugreek. And I used fenugreek Absolute here. It does have a curry smell. And bro, that is a very, very, I hate that smell.
Well, it's just too, it's not a bad smell, but I don't want to wear it, right?
Yeah, but this is not that.
This doesn't
have that harsh bang in the nose.
True.
You've balanced it really nicely.
Sweetness.
Again, it's those what you wish the fragrance was. This is what you've actually managed to create here. It is fantastic.
The original perfume has something called prunol, where in this version I've used something called prunella. So the prunol will basically hijack the fenugreek sweetness and it will create that curry effect. And I approached that and I saw that and I see what they did. And I took a step back and I was like, okay, let's use some alternatives. Let's create my own interpretation of plum, which comes down to the use of rose with the prunella materials, which is just awesome. So I just used another material that, again, she would probably have access to.
Yeah.
So for me, like, again, I wish I had the same approach with financially to these perfumes as these big companies. If I had the same opportunity, I would probably create some of the best perfumes in the world. And I will do this. This is my promise to every single client. I promise to make you proud, and I promise to be better than Amouage in Australia.
Wow. Well, we look forward to seeing this evolution. I mean, you're already creating killer perfumes, and I think you're already an absolute standout. But I can see within you that you will never be happy until, you know, you have reached your own personal peak. You reached your potential, and God knows where that is. That's somewhere in the stratosphere. And I look forward to I look forward to seeing it. This has been just such an amazing journey through your range. It gives us a little bit of insight, and as I said, we've only just touched on some of the collection here.
If I could, ever so slightly.
Please.
Yes.
There's one more perfume that I really want you guys to try.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Let's...
This is unreleased, and only around 45 people have a version of this perfume just called Cash. And now that we have this level of structure and I have the real bottle to present it, plus a handful of materials that I extracted myself, I'm happy to present this now.
Fantastic. Let's have a smell.
I think this will be our last one too, guys.
Good stuff.
I'm really, really excited to share the Royal Cash Elixir. My favorite top two materials in perfumery would be cardamom and frankincense. Cardamom being the queen of spices, used in every fragrance that would represent sexy. 1 million, Sauvage Dior, Sauvage Elixir, some of the best Issey Miyake fragrances. Cardamom is used to make fragrances sexy.
Yeah.
Now, we have that in our mind. I had this accord from the very beginning of my perfumery, and I got this accord from an amazing master perfumer, Ibrahim Al-Quraishi. I'll give you the biggest credit on this show right now. The combination is cardamom, cinnamon, and vanilla. The little trick to this accord is the cedarwood, which is the fourth material to this beautiful accord. Now, when you balance this ratio just right, you will get the nicest transition of cardamom, cinnamon, and vanilla from this sweet, citrusy, aromatic freshness to this bare, borderline, vanillic, rich, sweet, creamy base. This, to me, represents regal luxury and its finest. If you want to go out, smell regal like a rich man who's dripping in feng shui and ecstatic bohemian style, I highly recommend Royal Cash Elixir.
Hence why we've got cash in the name.
Yeah, hence why we've got cash in the
Absolutely.
name. It smells like that boy got some monies.
All right.
Wow. That utilizes green cardamom tincture, saffron, blended beautifully with cinnamon, vanilla, and cedarwood.
Wow.
And I've utilized mandarin with cardamom here in a way that's never been utilized before. Most of the time they're creating mandarin heavy with a touch of cardamom. Give me a cardamom tincture that's really high on terpene, on camphorous materials, on apianine, some of the highest quality smells. Blend that with mandarin essential oil, cinnamon, vanilla, salty cedarwood. I also have a deep love for salty aquatic musk without it being overly salty on skin either. So try this on skin if you would absolutely dare to.
Bring it.
I know we're getting a little bit laddered here, and I love the mist.
Yeah, thank you.
This is something that I created originally just for myself. And as soon as I created it and wore it, everyone loved it. And then I just started selling it from there. So for those who have cash, come get the new one.
This is
The
amazing.
cardamom blows.
Oh my God.
when you put it
I
on your
think
skin.
the nice thing
right?
about this is, sometimes cardamom can come across a little bit sweaty.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a bit of a sexy, fragrance. But sometimes you lose the essence of the cardamom and you only just get the sweat sort of bomb. The way you've blended these ingredients really helps hero that smell of cardamom without it going in the sweaty territory, but it's there in the back so that you get that sexiness.
Combined with the sweaty, salty combination, like
Yes.
fresh skin just coming out of the ocean.
That's nice. Yeah.
And the best thing about this fragrance too is the level of complicated musk combinations between the cetylox and the ambrox and the very high halvaltalide and the ambrosinide. The combination of these very awesome materials creates a freshness and the sweetness with the vanilla that's just to die for, because the vanilla and the cinnamon combined together, the mandarin and the cardamom go together really well. The saltiness at the base with the musks keep this fragrance effervescent and ever evolving, and it's always transitioning of different aspects of cardamom. That's what's amazing about the expression of the tincture. The tincture for this one specifically is a 500-gram tincture of cardamom, which is a lot.
Wow.
Almost basically half a kilo of cardamom was used just for this one bottle, bro.
Goodness.
Wow.
And it's just to reach that concentration naturally, rather than overdose it synthetically.
It's just fascinating because it's evolving from as you said, the sort of ozonic, sort of watery, back to the mandarin and the cinnamon and the cardamom, and it's awesome. And then it's got that vanilla. It's there, but it's kind of, how could I say?
Mysterious.
A little bit
It's not the
mysterious.
dominant
Yeah.
note. Which sometimes when you use vanilla, it can overtake everything else.
Yeah,
It's nicely
overpower.
supporting everything else.
Yeah. Wow.
I've got to say, I feel a little bit like a Pokemon trainer here. I've got to have them all, right?
gotta
It's
have 'em
because they're all
Infinity
fantastic,
rings.
Yeah.
and they're all
Way to put
unique.
it. Yeah.
And even where they're a little bit similar in DNA to a Royal Tobacco or to a Ventus, it's still completely different. It's got its own expression of that DNA. And honestly, I mean, if you haven't got your nose on this brand before, you have done yourself a disservice. You really need to. And we'll go into a little bit later, how you can actually get hold of these fragrances and samples, because I think it's going to be really important for people to be able to understand what we're talking about here. Because while we're doing our best to describe these notes, there is no replacement for the nose and actually getting your nose on the fragrance.
That is 100%.
Thank you so much for taking us through the range here. And as I said, we've only just touched the very tip of the iceberg here, and we're going to have to bring you back and go further into other fragrances in the range. But we've had quite a long time now to go through the dry down for the heart. So I think it's probably time to return to our base notes.
Our base.
Yes.
So just to round out our perfume pyramid here, again on the screen we've got our pyramid, and we're right at the bottom of the pyramid at our base notes. So the way I like to describe base notes in the most simplistic type of terms is they're almost the opposite of the opening notes. So when I describe the opening notes as light and volatile, the base notes are dense and heavy, and they stick to our skin. They provide the supporting structure for the rest of the notes in the fragrance. And when everything else starts to step back into the background, it's the base notes that stick to our skin and last for the duration. So where we get that longevity of 4 hours, 5 hours, 6, 12, 15 hours, depending on the formulation of the fragrance, it's those base notes that are driving that longevity of the fragrance. This show is proudly sponsored by Watchvault, Australia's premier destination for luxury and vintage timepieces. Every watch is trusted, verified, and ready for its next chapter. Visit watchvault.com.au to discover your next timeless investment. So, with all of that explained, let's have another smell. And if you can take us through the base notes, that would be fantastic.
Beautiful. Now, something that I really love to do is I love to blend oud in a way where it becomes a supporting anchor for the fragrance without it actually being fully presented itself. It's a hidden stabilizing smell, which usually I'm building off oud, right? Which is very difficult usually. But to blend a fragrance like this, it was absolutely honorable, because what I did here, especially with the oud that I used in Electric Fumo, I used an oud tincture, an extraction process using alcohol to extract oud chips like oud from ebony wood. Ebony wood being the secondhand, or how do you explain it? So after they harvest agarwood, they harvest the heartwood, and then you're left with a bunch of cut off,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
And it's the actual aguilaria tree. It's the oud itself without the proper mold that's evolved and grown on the tree. There's still very small aspects of actual oud in there. But man, when I smelled the tincture, I fell in love. I was like, it doesn't have much of a smell. It's not the strongest smell in the world. But because I have such a heightened sense of smell, when I first smelled the material, I got the full spectrum of oud. That stole my heart. So I went on a journey to discover some of the best oud tinctures and oli resins. And that's where this came into format. I found an oud that smelled fresh. And I was like, ooh, okay, how do we blend this now? And I took a lot of time with it. I was very intimate with it. I spent a lot of time blending it on my skin, seeing what combos fit this the best.
Yep.
And I realized it's a combination of this oud with something called orchinox, which is this dry ambergris-like material. It's woody and rich. But what happens is once you apply the oud tincture, and then you add some real oud, and then you apply orchinox, it creates another accord. It creates harmony. That harmony, I realized that if I basically crack it up with ambrosinite, ambrox, and a handful of quality musks and natural materials, I could get a fresh base that's woody and hyper masculine. And the more that I started to grow and evolve this technique, the more I realized that I was getting a Tom Ford Oud Mineral style of base. And then what ended up happening is, now this is not my words, this is the words of someone who has bought this perfume. It smells as if you took Otto Parisi's Magamare and it cheated on that with Tom Ford's Oud Mineral. And then it had a baby with imagination, because the green tea cardamom combination that evolves past just the middle notes, it's in the base notes too, really allows this perfume to evolve nicely. The cardamom hijacks the bitterness of the oud beautifully enough and becomes that sweaty, sexy smell with the saltiness. Once again, utilizing this very Australian style of skin scent. And beautifully enough, it really came home when I mixed it with the spark accord. The spark accord originally came from mixing the smell of seashells with the smell of grapefruit and citrus. So like these small accords, these blends that, as I said, I make over 250 something samples a month. And if you ever come by the store, you'll see me consistently playing. These things come together, and I realized that after spending enough time with the materials and the blends, you get some awesome ass effects.
Fantastic. Well, there's a lot in there, and I've got to say, I love Oud Mineral. It's one of the Tom Ford fragrances. I love. Actually, I love a lot of them, but I love that particular one. The only reason why I haven't purchased it is because I have Kenzo Hom 2022, which is very similar in its DNA.
Like
So
the Kenzo
and I can't justify having both, but they're both beautiful fragrances. Now, you just mentioned there the ebony chips that come from the Aguilaria tree.
Yes.
So just to explain to our viewers, oud is actually the resinous heart of that Aguilaria tree. It's basically a mold infection that gets into the tree when particular insects burrow into it. It's very hard to find. You can't actually see the oud from the outside of the tree, and so it's an extraordinarily rare material. And once it's been found and harvested, you have to actually carve the outside of the tree away from it by hand to get to this resinous heart. And what you're talking about there are the chips that sit close to that resinous heart that's come away that you've tinctured from.
That's correct. Which basically highlights the sustainability, the ethics that we have at Kilani Essence, which is always having the respect for the traditional places, people, and how these materials come together, and never at any point in time wasting it. For me, as I evolve with my own extraction processes, I'm coming up with awesome new ways to utilize and reuse these materials for my own personal use for the moment, and in the future for future products as well. For example, like the frankincense, after extracting the frankincense, and when I'm left with the I wouldn't even call it a byproduct because it's just another product. I add it to soap and I make soap with it that me and my family use at home. And it's the same thing with the cardamom. I create my own body wash with the cardamom, and it's very awesome. So nothing at Kilani Essence goes to waste. And most importantly, even within the bottles and boxes that I've created, the bottles that you get for Code Kilani and Cyan Mango and Exotic Banana originally, those pharmacy bottles, they're refillable. So you can bring me back those bottles and save the environment yourselves, and I'm happy to refill them for doing that. And it's the same thing with our bottles. I've created it so you're not left with a box that you throw away. I've created it so it's a display. You get to showcase your perfume in a way that isn't too dear on the environment or yourselves or your space. Same thing with the leather bags, by the way. Instead of putting the perfume in a box, which again you throw away, I'll put it in a leather bag that you can reuse.
I love that. And there's
Very
not
intentional. Yeah.
there's not enough brands that do the recycling and the upcycling. We've seen a few. We've had a couple on the show that have upcycling, like Talita use upcycled rose. I think Piosum also do this as well. We see a little bit from some of the international houses like Etat Libre d'Orange use some upcycling, but it's not super prevalent.
Of course.
And it should be, because there is a lot of wastage inside of perfumery. Some of it is not super sustainable for that reason, because so much gets thrown away. So if you can find another way to use the byproducts of a process and put that into your perfume, you're doing a great thing for the environment. You're doing a great thing for our future. And we're also getting a unique scent out of it, which I think is brilliant.
Amazing enough. And it's the same thing anytime I get, like, especially with our packaging and stuff, like sending it away and having an online platform. Anytime I order anything and it comes in bubble wrap, I refuse to throw away that bubble wrap. I'll just reuse it and send it off. And that gives me anxiety sometimes, because like if I'm packing away this order and I'm using this like old bubble wrap, it's not going to match our aesthetic. But I'm also saving the environment. I'm using things that I have there. And for me, it's always about making sure that it's respect of the materials, respect of our oceans. Did you guys know that around 150,000 kilograms of glass and single-use plastic goes into our oceans a year from the perfume industry alone? Now, just knowing that number personally, and I'm very passionate about our oceans and the population, the community, and everyone in the industry, man, I really have this deep love for our planet, and I want to be able to express that to the world. And look, every company, you do your best, you try your best, and you can't expect the world from every brand.
No, you can't. But you can do your part. And I love the fact that you're doing your part and that you're conscious of it, and that you want to leave the world a better place while also adding to the beauty of the world through your fragrances. I absolutely love this. Now, before we move on from our base to sort of round out the show, there's a couple of notes in the base here that maybe our viewers and listeners might not be all that familiar with. One is it Choya Nakh?
Yes, Choya Nakh. Beautiful material. Now, in my experience with perfumers in Dubai, and in Dubai, them not having the IFRA regulation fragrance cartel, basically, it allows us to utilize destructive distillation at an approach that's amazing. So basically, what is Choya Nakh? What is choy? Choyas are these clay pots that's traditionally used in India to make fragrance. They've been used for hundreds of years, thousands of years. Now, what I love about the Indian materials and how they come about is they are able to capture the soul of the seashell, which is so special. They get seashells and sandalwood oil and put it in a clay pot and burn it for over 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes this process can take many, many weeks. Okay. Basically, the combination of seashells and then the carrier being the sandalwood oil creates this harmony, and we capture the soul of the seashells, creating this salty, smoky, camphorous nuance that's extremely hard to work with, by the way. The tiniest aspect of this will shift a formula towards something that is extreme. So I love to be able to use some of the most difficult materials, some of the hardest working materials in perfumery, and being able to blend that really, really well. I think this collection for me is beyond just the passion. I want to express to my customers, to the world, that the perfumes that are coming out of Kilani Essence are the top tier of artisanal perfumery. And I can't wait to showcase that a little bit more. The only other person that I've seen being able to do what I do personally is 2 other perfumers from around the world. One being Lancaster and the other one being Aroma Salazar, which I got to give a little bit of props to. Aroma Salazar has been he's a perfumer from California, from America. He does his own extraction processes. He's very open about sharing it. He has a perfumery page where all the perfumers come together, share knowledge, and showcase that. And I just got to give him that love. I wanted to do that. He did that, and he sent it. And ever since then, I've realized that I'm not alone in the industry, in this world. And that is so special. And I want to encourage more people to do perfumery and be inspired by my story and the belief that I have in myself to create our own fragrances and to take that step into understanding exactly what's going on your skin. But I highly recommend going to a professional like myself first and having that in-depth understanding, discussion, and consultation first. But I highly recommend people take that and really like evolve their own scent.
Interestingly, this is the second time I've heard of Mr. Salazar, and the first time I heard of him was again through Zachariah from Anomalous, who has also sort of given him a bit of a shout out as well. So maybe not a name that people are all that familiar with, but certainly with the industry, having that sort of respect there. Absolutely brilliant. This has been an absolutely incredible masterclass. I don't think we've gone quite this deep before into some of these unique ingredients, getting a better understanding of destructive distillation, getting an understanding of frankincense, which again, I had no idea there was more than one frankincense. And so my eyes have been opened up here, and I absolutely love this ingredient. So I'm going to deep dive into that a little bit more as well. Now, if people wanted to get hold of any of these fragrances or wanted to get samples of the fragrances, because that's always a good place to start, where would they go?
Okay, so my first and highest recommendation is coming down to our Warrawong Plaza store, where I have my small boutique kiosk, always there, ready to cook for you from 9 to 5. And beautifully enough, if you're also after these fragrances, you can go on KilaniEssence.com and you can find out beautiful fragrances with the stories, the materials, and as much transparency as I can pour out. Now, I'm going to talk about something that is very unique to me and that I'm very passionate about. And I want to be able to express this really, really well. For me, I am not a mass production. I am a single dude who's doing everything and all and in between. Perfumery is my passion, my drive, and the main business. But I am an entrepreneur. I have other businesses as well. And for me, I genuinely pour my soul into each one of those. And I've created those businesses for my family, so they have that same structure. That leaves me with not very much left of myself. So what I do with the KilaniEssence.com is I utilize something that a lot of perfumers are utilizing right now, and it's AI. But the way that I utilize it is super unique. I don't allow it to mess with my formulas because I can create heartfelt sensation, real perfumery. But I allow it to illustrate my synesthesia and to illustrate what I see, what I'm trying to recreate. That is the most beautiful thing that we have as perfumers right now. Being able to describe a scent and get an image from that. That is amazing for me.
Fantastic. What a great way to use AI.
Yeah. And so if you go on our website, it looks a little bit more like a food menu. And
Cool.
it looks like or you could say it looks like an album menu where you're at a music store and each album cover is very beautifully detailed and how it represents the songs or the song, right? And when I make fragrances, I'm making 1 to 3, like how you create an EP. Yep. That music inspiration comes to my mind as well, because creating perfumes, like creating music, creating the true definition of art.
Fantastic. So for those people who are listening to the show rather than watching, we'll make sure that we put the website into the actual description. So if you're wondering where to get it, the description will be there. For those people who are watching, we're going to pop the website on the screen for you now. What will also pop onto the screen is the actual address of the store. So it's nice and easy to find. So if you are in New South Wales and you can get down there, again, highly recommend it. or make a bit of a special trip if you're visiting. What we'll finally do is we always do a profile on our guests onto our website. So we'll do a full website profile on Kilani Essence and on Yousef. And within that, we'll also have the website. So lots and lots of different ways in which you can discover it. To get to our website, popping up on your screen right now is a QR code. Simply scan that QR code. It'll take you straight to the website and you'll be able to get connected in. There is no reason why you can't actually find Kilani Essence. So I'm assuming on the website that we do actually have access to some samples that we could order.
You definitely can. At KilaniEssence.com, some of the best fragrances have the samples available in sizes from 5, 10, and 50 ml. And I only make small batch 50 ml fragrances. We don't go above that point. And we also have structured perfumery sample sets from the Fumo Discovery set to the Summer Classics, the first releases of our brand, to the more vanillic richness that everyone loves. The three main materials that I'm most obsessed with is frankincense, cardamom, and vanilla. So to be able to present those three as a sample set was my favorite thing in the world. And more sample sets to come, I guess.
Good stuff. So that's really the DNA.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fantastic. All right. So one last question for you before we let you go. What's next for Kilani Essence?
What's next for Kilani Essence? Well, for this year, I have 20 fragrances that I want to drop. On
Just
top
a
of
few, right?
just a
one
few.
or two.
20
Just
20 fragrances. And these fragrances that I've been humbly working on evolving and growing for the last 2.5 years. So this massive collection that I have is something that I want to share with the world to be able to showcase how artisanal quality can own the industry a little bit. And just like there's a lot of hype on certain things, I want to be able to generate a lot of hype for this too. Most importantly as well, what's next for Kilani Essence? Well, a million things. I'm going to be doing acting. I'll be dropping a lot more music. For me, I have a lot of creative zing to me, right? So I'll be able to present that to you guys. But most importantly, just for Kilani Essence, you guys will be getting a lot more fragrances. You'll be getting a perfumer sample set. So basically different materials, my tinctures, the concentrated tinctures, and you getting to have that intimacy with the materials online through the sample sets. Another future thing for Kilani Essence is an upgrade to the website. So basically, once you click on our website and you click on a perfume, you can shift and change the materials, and basically gives you a very structured identity on the materials. I've been building that website in the background for the last 3.5 years. The website that you see now is just the front versus what I'm actually working on in the background. And it's to basically showcase over 1,500 materials on the website and give you that level of intimacy and understanding that I have. The only thing is you probably haven't smelt those materials. So the most difficult thing that I'm working with is against the grain is being able to present that digitally. Through my use of expressiveness, through my use of how different fragrances present certain smells, and reference points. So, but we'll get there.
Wow,
it's a huge challenge.
It is.
You are so productive. It's just like mind-blowing how much you produce. It's just amazing, and we can't wait to watch what comes next.
I'm so excited
absolutely.
too.
Yes, but I just wanted to say how inspiring you are. I've really appreciate what we've learned today about not just your brand, but you as an individual. And look, I think you realize that we've just had the most fun. Absolutely wonderful to experience your fragrances. Not being from New South Wales, we haven't had the luxury of being able to come into your store before. So it's been absolutely delightful.
And usually anyone who doesn't have the opportunity to experience Kilani Essence physically, usually I'm always happy to talk to you online and showcase that level of love, compassion, and kindness, the three virtues of my life.
Wow, beautiful. Well, Yousef, thank you so much for making the effort to fly down, come into the studio, take us through this masterclass, get us exposed to the broader range as well. And certainly next time we are in New South Wales, we'll be making a beeline straight for the store because we really want the full Kilani
Kilani
experience,
experience.
absolutely, from end to end. So you'll be seeing us, but we'll give you a bit of a heads up so we can get some special time with you.
I would be definitely prepared.
Fantastic.
Cannot wait, man.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much for the kind words. And to everybody watching, thank you for the support. I love you from the depths of my soul, and I can't wait to continue to make Australia proud and putting our name, Australia, made in Australia, on the front tier of Middle Eastern perfumery. Basically, beating them at their own game, baby. Ooh.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Could not have said that better. So thank you again. And thank you to all of our listeners. Please like and subscribe for more content. And as we said, you can look up Kilani Essence online for the full experience. Thank you for joining us today and take care until next time.
Au revoir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.